The return of Chris Gore this morning on Midnight's Edge in the Morning. Shang-Chi is a triumph. So now what? Dune looks interesting, and Neo is in, or should I say, John Wick is in the Matrix. Interestingly enough. Good morning, kids. I am Tom Connors. With me is Mike, the Mexican Iron Man. How you doing?
Very well, sir. Great to be on the morning show with the great Chris Gore. And yourself, sir?
Oh, I'm doing all right, except for Andre is not with us yet. He will be here shortly, so I'm like scrambling, pulling out what hair I had left, trying to freak out and get things going here. But that's because we have a very, very special guest with us, Mr. Chris Gore. How you doing this morning?
Doing great, Tom. Thank you for inviting me on the show again. It's also good to be with Mexican Iron Man.
Thank you, brother. I've become a huge fan of your channel. We'll talk about that in a minute, I'm sure.
Cool.
It's always a huge pleasure and an honor to have you here. It's been too long. We love having you here. We even have special buttons for Chris.
Uh-oh.
Well, I'm just saying, like, whenever you recommend, we have,
Sure.
none of our other guests have magic special buttons just for them.
Good. That's awesome.
So, and Mike can tell you that for a fact. So, with that, I'm going to say hello to the chat. We got coming in with a super chat here this morning. It says, hi, gents. Hello, everyone. Thank you for that. We also have Stephanie Janicek hanging out in the chat. We have Dalbin. We have Shrap 3D. We have Plan Our Aspect. We have Spider Unlimited. Mr. Tickle Trunk is here with the wrench. Thank you, sir. And hopefully the rest of you are having a great morning as well. Script Doctor's hanging out in the chat. How you doing, buddy? We got Lindsay here with a wrench. Let's see who else. We got David Walker here. We got Rick Lucy, Fractal Jack. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here on this Wednesday morning. We have Joker Voice in the chat as well, which is always good to have. But yeah, so good morning, Chris. You've been a busy man. It's been a while since we've talked to you. How you been? What you been up to?
Doing good. Just as usual, sort of balancing my life between doing stuff at Film Threat, which is my day job. Film Threat, the independent movie website where we cover independent films. Occasionally we cover a big studio release like Shang-Chi when they come out, but we're primarily focused on independent film. And then I'm working on a couple of documentaries on the side. So sort of balancing doing indie film, making indie films, and then doing Film Threat, and then on occasion I'll do videos that pop up on other channels like Film Courage. But I want to say hi to the chat. They've always been kind to me, and thank you for all your support. And I hope you check out some of my other videos, and you'll get my opinions there. Although I'm fairly certain you're going to get a lot of opinions today. So thank you for the love from the chat. You guys are really awesome. I just truly appreciate it.
As we get started, before you go ahead and welcome. Well, if it's okay, I would just want to say after the last show that you did, I was already a sub to your channel, but I went and started looking at your videos, and I did a deep dive a couple weekends ago, and then I've stayed on top since then. What I'm going to tell everybody in the chat is go sub to his channel if you want to know how the artistry and the craft that goes behind, as well as maybe some of the politics and stuff like that, but really the artistry and the craft of what goes into great storytelling. Go subscribe to his channel, watch his videos. I do taxes for a living in the daytime and my career. I think that's an incredibly intricate job, what I do. And that's not necessarily a compliment on what I chose to do, but what you do, Chris, and the insight you give and the learning and the teaching that your videos give, I had no idea that it's as intricate, the craft is as intricate as it is. And God bless you for teaching and sharing the way you have. I mean, I don't have any aspirations to be a creator like you. I don't have any stories to tell. I'm a fan, I'm a fanatic, but it's been a true pleasure watching your videos and getting to become a fan of yours and all the good work that you got on those videos.
Well, thank you very much. It's sort of one of my missions is to, impart information to inspire people. And the thing is, people think, especially when it comes to film, it's like, well, I want to be the director, and director is one job on a film. There are all sorts of ways to be involved as a creator. There are very creative producers. I consider Kevin Feige to be one of the people that understands creativity. And there's even I believe an art to hiring the right people, putting together the right team. So there's all sorts of ways to be involved as a creator in making an indie film or making a film, any kind of film. So find out kind of what you gravitate to. I have a friend of mine actually who he was an intern at Film Threat back in the 90s, and he works as an accountant at Lucasfilm. And so heck, that's something you could do. Mexican Iron Man. So yeah,
okay, maybe
he said, yeah, who knew that, doing 9 Star Wars Disney Plus shows would be so easy? Of course he's kidding, but not like he tells me any inside info, but he's worked at Lucasfilm for a while, and so there you go. But yeah, there's just so many different ways to be involved, and what I want to let people know is that it's within the realm of possibility to do those things. Even if it's just like, hey, I'd love to see a movie about this made. Well, then you hire a screenwriter and get some, put together financing. I mean, there are a lot of one of the producers that I follow for years that I've really admired is a guy named, you probably don't know him, not a household name. Guy's name is Ted Hope, and he produced films like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And he's a person I would consider to be a very creative producer in terms of putting together the elements of a project that end up with some level of success. So thank you again for having me, and thank you for your kind words. And thank you, Stephen Otten, for your $5 super chat.
Well, yeah, as you may see here, you're a very popular guest here on the show. We always love to have you here. As I said, it's an honor and a pleasure as always. Stephen Otten says, hail Tom, Mike, Chris, Andre, when he gets here, Wrenches and chat. Chris, how do you think Dune will do in the box office? Will streaming hurt it? Actually, well, I'm sure we'll get to that, but go ahead and answer the quick version right now.
100% streaming is going to hurt it. It obviously hurt Suicide Squad, which I thought was really entertaining. I thought, it wasn't particularly woke. It was funny. It's gory. I mean, I think the R rating hurt that along with streaming, and it's a bummer. Dune is, of course, a novel that I've read 4 times. At least 4 times when I was a kid. And I just recently reread it again. And that's a movie, that's a property that's like so close to my heart. It looks like they're doing it right. I saw that first 10 minutes in that special IMAX screening. I think the only way to see that movie is in IMAX. Seriously, if look, if you're planning to see that movie, see it in an IMAX theater. That is where I plan to see it. As soon as tickets go on sale, I'll be picking them up. But, streaming is going to hurt it. And I don't think they realize how I think it actually helped Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi would not have done as well at the box office had it been available, as the Disney Plus premiere or whatnot. That it clearly was helped along by being theatrical only. And I think the only way theatrical is going to come back is if studios commit to at least a certain window of theatrical only. And I really believe, and I know Denis Villeneuve, the director of Dune, believes this as well. It's got to open on screens. I think the streaming thing kind of kills it. I probably would have gone to see the Suicide Squad a second time in the theater. I saw it in the theater to start. Actually, I saw it with Ryan Cannell, actually. He and I went to a screening of it, and we did a review actually on his channel. I forgot about that. But then
I saw that, and I saw it twice in the theaters. I liked it so much I went back 3 days later. I saw it on I think a Monday. When did I see it? I think I saw it on a Monday, and then I saw it again on a Wednesday. I had a blast on that movie. I really had an absolute good time. Did not have a good time with Shang-Chi, but I had a great time with the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it's great. It's just but then also I was going to go see it again with a friend, and we're like, well, I can turn on my TV right now and just watch it. It's there's a 4 o'clock, there's a 7:30. We're kind of in the, we're just let's just watch it. And we did. But again, yeah, would have made more money and I probably would have seen it again later on streaming after it goes away and then comes back. So Dune will absolutely be hurt. And I don't know what that means for the other 2 Dune movies. There are just so everybody knows, I'm not sure everybody knows this, but the Dune movie is part 1. In fact, when I saw the first 10 minutes, it says Dune part 1. And the first movie is just Dune. The second movie is called Dune Prophet, which is based on the second half of the first Dune book. And then the third Dune movie is intended to be called Dune Messiah, based on the follow-up book, which is Dune Messiah. So it's basically a trilogy of movies comprised,
of 2 books. Yeah.
Of 2 books. Exactly. So we'll see. Will that get made? I hope so. I mean, there's apparently a Bene Gesserit, television
for HBO Max. Yeah.
For HBO Max. Yeah. Like it, I don't know. They're going to try and turn Dune into a franchise. I hope. I really feel like sort of like post Star Wars hangover, where we're kind of just, I think we're all disenfranchised with Star Wars at this point. And Dune could be the next thing, but who knows?
No, it's funny because I've been saying that same exact thing now for a while, that maybe this is what the audience is ready for. And Dune has like the perfect blend of kind of like this sci-fi meets sword and sorcery with some of the, kind of game, War of the Roses / Game of Thrones kind of business going on in it. You got a lot of intrigue and, backstabbing and political fighting and stuff like that. You add a little sex in it, you never know. No, but anyway.
Well, Tom, you had a really fascinating analysis last night on our Midnight Edge After Dark show where you talked about how the media is covering it. And I'd be interested to get what if you could repeat that for today's morning crew and the morning crowd, and then also get Chris Gore's reaction. I think that'd be fascinating, because I really liked your take about how, there's some Joker type PR or something. The way you said last night was really good.
Well, here's the thing is, I know Andre plans on doing an editorial on this, so I don't want to get too deep into it.
Oh, okay.
But basically, I think that the more the mainstream media dislikes this movie, the better it is for us fans, because they don't understand the story. And a big reason why I think some of the major media outlets are not enjoying the film and are very critical of it, not just because of the white savior aspect, but that is actually one of the big part of it. But I mean, look at it this way. Like I said last night, it's like this story is almost like, I don't know if you call it irony or just coincidental or what, but it's almost like a parallel to what's going on in Hollywood right now, right? Like the Bene Gesserit tell Jessica she has to have a daughter. Instead, she's like, fuck you, I'm having a son, like, and all that kind of stuff. And, and a lot of the reviews are like, oh, this movie has a white savior problem. Right. Now, we who know the story know that, clearly if they knew the entire story, they'd be gushing all over this movie, because it is a lot of what they're like pushing for right now. And that is, you have a false, leader who's kind of like not exactly what everybody thinks he is. But the main portion of the story we're seeing now, though, is like I just said, the whole, the Bene Gesserit say you got to have a daughter. Instead, she has a son. Well, this is like Hollywood saying you have to have a female lead in your movie, and Lady Jessica being the director saying, no, fuck you, I'm putting a white male lead in this movie. So I think that's why a lot of the critics are going after it. But I know Andre is going to do a much more eloquent kind of look into this stuff. But I don't know. That's what Mike was talking about there. Sorry, Chris.
That criticism is so misinformed, because anyone who's read the book, it's about charismatic leaders and how we should not trust them. And if you go back and you look at interviews of Frank Herbert, and you can just look up Frank Herbert on YouTube right now and see old interviews with him, and you can read about what his thoughts were politically speaking. He did not trust JFK. He thought JFK probably one of the most charismatic presidents, at least in the last 100 years, right? One of the most charismatic presidents who got us involved in Vietnam, right? And his whole thing was Frank Herbert actually preferred Nixon, because Nixon, you kind of knew who he was on the surface, right? He was an asshole, but JFK was this nice guy, and he did horrible things behind the scenes, but because he's so charismatic, we all went along with it. And that's Paul Atreides is kind of, it's weird because he's going down that path, but Paul Atreides has an awareness that he has this terrible purpose in front of him, and in some way is trying to undo that. So he's trying to undo the future that he sees for himself, effectively becoming, this authoritarian regime on Arrakis. So He's trying to. It's sort of like if Anakin knew he was going to become Darth Vader and tried to undo his fate. That's kind of what the story of Paul Atreides is, to put it simply.
Right. Yeah, and it's a very nuanced. I mean, I was kind of simplifying it, but still, no. I think you're right, though, Chris. I think that the streaming is not going to help. The streaming aspect is not going to help the film.
No,
in this respect, as we've seen it hurt more so, and I think you're more so right about how it's going to hurt the ancillary sales. And I think this is where Disney is being very short-sighted with some of its practices. And recently is with the Black Widow thing, they killed their ancillary sales.
Yeah.
Like nobody's going to buy a Blu-ray of this now.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to care to go back and see it again. Like you just said, why should I go back to the theater, spend $20 to go see it in the theater again, an hour to drive, get the popcorn, all that business, deal with all the, especially now with this current situation, when I can just watch it at home.
Right.
I see so many people just going that route when that's where Marvel movies have always made $1 billion because of the repeat sales, right? Like it's the people going back again and again and again and again and again. Same thing I think here with Dune is going to have the same problem, to where what's sad is this movie had some potential, right? Like
True.
It was the trailer, even though it came out a month after the Batman, was outpacing the Batman by quite a bit in views. It's a movie that, or a project, a property that always comes up on this channel because Andre's a huge fan and we're, generally on top of it. And, the audience is pretty receptive to it, but there's been a lot of stuff going on with this movie. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about it here in a bit. We have a couple super chats though I want to grab here before we get too far into things. We've got one from Michael Miller who says, could we get a streaming special, Paul of Dune? Well, that's kind of what it's going to end up being in a weird way. I just hope they don't split it up or some stupid shit, but yeah.
Right.
And then we got Jammin' D who sends in a whole 50 Canadian dollars. Holy cow. Thank you so much. Or would that be Hyman? I think it's just Jamin. Says, greetings, handsome as ever, Tom. Well, thank you. I don't know if I deserve that, but thank you. Wonderful Mike and awesome Mr. Gore. Just a question to everyone in the room. And when do you think you will let the critic side of the brain take rest and just fan side watch a movie, or does it ever happen? Oh yeah. I know for me it does. What about you, Chris? I got to imagine just sometimes you just turn your brain off the critic brain side of things and just enjoy the film from time to time, or you wouldn't enjoy movies.
Well, true. I think usually the first time I see a film, depending on what type of movie it is, it's my fan side that just goes nuts. And then after that, it's the second viewing where I get the critical side kind of comes out, and you can kind of see the flaws, that are apparent. I've been watching all the critiques of Shang-Chi, and it just echoes everything I thought. I mean, he's kind of a sidelined character in his own movie. And the thing that I feel burdened with is that I've been watching Asian cinema since I was a kid. Everything from Toho monster movies to, Japanese films, Jackie Chan movies, Korean horror. So all the praise being heaped upon it for being an Asian movie, it's just like, I feel like you're a lazy person. You're a lazy moviegoer if you don't watch movies made, that are only made in the United States. I feel like you're lazy. I feel like that is just very short-sighted. So it's weird to see Disney make a movie that's sort of a copy of they basically attempted to make a foreign film, right?
Basically, they made the Taco Bell equivalent of the Marvel Universe.
Oh my God, that's a great analogy. Like, if you really want authentic Mexican food, you go somewhere where people don't speak English, right? Those are my favorite restaurants. If you go in and everybody is speaking Mandarin Chinese, that is going to be some good Chinese food. If you go to I don't know, Panda Express.
Yeah.
That's just, that's frozen. You might as well buy.
Chris, you're so brilliantly correct. And I mean, here's another example. And I know people in this chat stream probably may or may not have this experience. One of the greatest things, I've lived in 11, I've done business, worked, and lived in 11 different countries besides the US in my career, in my life. And there's nothing like getting a perspective of the world events and culture when you've lived somewhere else. And what you're saying about filmmaking is completely on point. You have to really appreciate film and movie going from different cultural perspectives and see how it's made to get the genuine real deal. And as far as Jamin Hyman D talks about, I'm not a critic professionally at all. I'm a fan, and I got to tell you, when I saw Shang-Chi, I was out in the first 10-15 minutes for multiple reasons. Just real briefly, I mean, having lived in the Bay Area, there's no hill that high that a whole bus is going to be out of control on. And I mean, number two, there's no way two folks working as valets are going to be able to buy a $48,000 to $8,000 ticket at the last minute at San Francisco International Airport and just fly out to China. I mean, there's just some unrealistic things that just hit me in minute one, and that doesn't even get into the regular plot. It was poor storytelling, and it was just very. They lost me before we got anywhere.
Yeah, Marvel is really good at making a certain type of film, which is a superhero movie. And I think what they do is they try to throw in some special sauce with other genres, romantic comedy,
right,
heist film, whatever. And I think this one may have been out of their depth. I think look, as far as I'm concerned, if it opens up a world where people are like, okay, I really love Shang-Chi, then I'm like, okay, go watch a Jackie Chan movie. You know what I mean? Go watch other films. Go explore Asian cinema. Like that is something that everyone should be doing. But you're right; it's the Taco Bell version. It's like, okay, yeah. And I remember having grown up in Michigan. Okay, I love Taco Bell, but then I really fell in love with Mexican food having moved to Los Angeles.
Authentic thing, yeah.
It's like, oh my God! It's like, there's so many different like great Mexican restaurants. But yeah, like Taco Bell, I can't eat that now. I mean, that's like I only eat Taco Bell when I'm drungry. When you're kind of have that drunk hungry and you're coming home from the bar, it's like, well, it's right there. I'll just go get.
Well, let's put it this way: there's a reason why Taco Bell is open at 4:20, no matter what time of the day it is.
Exactly, or like those Jack in the Box tacos.
Yeah,
American cheese. They're awful. But they're 99 cents.
That's like Sonic here. We don't have Jack in the Box. We have Sonic over this way.
Well,
yeah, it's very similar. Very similar.
Yeah. But I mean, that's so. I mean, yeah, I think the script is really the weakness of Shang-Chi. I mean, Mexican Iron Man. You're absolutely right. I mean, really, it was the script, and there's so much plot that the first time I saw it, I kind of missed a couple things. Upon second viewing, it's like, okay, basically they're implying he found the rings in some meteor or whatever. It's whatever. There's just there was so much dense plot that I feel like that a lot of Shang-Chi was setting up other cool stuff that'll happen on a Disney Plus series or in another movie, and I think that's just it's sort of the problem with Iron Man 2. They were so burdened with setting up all these other things happening in the Marvel universe that it hurt the film. And I feel that Shang-Chi suffered from that as well. So, and I didn't hate it. There's a lot, that bus scene is fun, as inaccurate as it is, in terms of the geography, if you know San Francisco. But that bus scene was fun. When it cooked, it was good. Marvel knows how to do certain types of things. But overall, it was not a successful effort.
I think you made the best, or what you just said a little bit ago here, I think hit the nail on the head more so, because I used to be one who would argue that, people like, oh, Marvel's just so formulaic. And I'm like, not really. Because like you just said, they used to be able to make it to where every movie was a different genre within the Marvel universe, right? Like that was what was great about it. But then we've gotten to this point now where I think you're right. Like, instead of it being a different genre within the universe, we've hit this point where they're trying to repeat the idea of what, like, instead of it being, it's partially still the genre, but it's more the virtue signaling aspect of it, right? With like Black Panther and Captain Marvel, and now this, and to an extent Black Widow even. And now we're seeing this pattern. And again, it's like, it's a new formula. So they've integrated into the formula now this idea of different films. And that's where I get like, I've called it the McDonaldization of film, or whatever you want to call it, that's where I brought in the Taco Bell reference, because it's like, these are not even really movies. That's where I agree with Martin Scorsese. It's like, he's not wrong. Sure, it's put together like a movie would be put together. You have actors, you have special effects, you have a writer who actually sits down. but it's still not. There's still something missing there. It's not quite cinema. It's not something that feels like when I go into a movie and the world goes away for 2 hours. When I go to a Marvel film now, and I haven't even seen Shang-Chi yet, but I know already what to expect because I am a Kung Fu film fan, and that was one of the reasons why I was looking forward to this. But every time I hear somebody talk about it, even sometimes in the positive, I'm getting to the point where I'm just like, yeah, it's not selling this anymore. I feel like I've seen this 100 times over now from Marvel. So I'm getting Black Panther like 6.0 now. Great. Like that's all I need.
It is kind of a checklist, but of things that, including the trope of having your male character go shirtless, which I think that Marvel vastly underestimates the number of female Marvel fans who became Marvel fans because of the beefcake. If you really look at the first Avengers movie, it may as well be a Chippendales show. Like it's just like it's. So I think that they're vastly underestimating, the fact that women are fans of Marvel because they like hot masculine men. And if they're going to emasculate the men in the Marvel universe, I don't think that's going to go over well for the female fans, because I think even female fans of Marvel would like to see, Chris Hemsworth, with his shirt off fighting Hulk, whatever, like.
Oh, I can guarantee they do.
Exactly. So, but I think I prefer the term what Francis Ford Coppola said. He calls it factory filmmaking.
Yes.
Because that's what it is today. It's factory filmmaking. It's here it is, next thing, regurgitate it. And this is the thing is these movies, God, I almost, I'm not particularly active on Twitter, not particularly active personally on social media, because I find it's a terrible place to have a nuanced conversation. YouTube, on the other hand, I think is a great place to have nuanced conversation, because you can actually have a conversation rather than some pointless argument where only the extreme views are amplified, which is all of social media these days. But like this, it's movies have become less relevant, right? Like we discuss them. A week from now, we're not going to be talking about Shang-Chi.
Very disposable.
They're disposable. They're just like it's content, and then on to the next. So it's going to be very.
Which is what they refer to it as, Chris. Now,
yeah.
That's the irony of it. It's not. Yeah. It's not a film. It's not a TV show. It's content now.
Everything is content. Shang-Chi is content. The show we're having this discussion on right now is content, and there's not that powerful. A movie comes out and it's discussed and reverberates for years. It's only, with the perspective of time that we can see what were the important films in the Marvel universe, what got us where with Star Wars, got us to the disaster, which was The Rise of Skywalker. I don't even know why that movie's called that. It's like, it was such a deceptive title.
It's mocking us.
Yeah, I thought Luke was going to rise from the dead and come from the spirit side and kick ass, and that didn't happen.
Can I ask you about the word content? I actually know the answer because I learned this from your videos. But for the folks in the chat stream, why is content such a bad word when it's referred to the creative product in Hollywood?
I think it diminishes it. And also and I think it would apply to a lot of things. If you see on Netflix and you scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, and you spend more time deciding what to watch than actually watching a thing, there's just so much of it that there's a sameness to it. Even when it comes to I noticed this quite a bit when it comes to television series, there's almost a sameness to long form narrative storytelling these days, where certain things are going to happen, it's going to end in a way that makes you want to see the next episode, but there's almost like the formula is now becoming apparent to all of us. And I think that became very apparent with the Disney Plus series, which always sort of went the same way, where the first episode was always like, oh, well, that's compelling, I hope that they explore all these ideas, and then it's dragged out to the point where it may have been better as just a 2-hour movie rather than 3 to 6 hours.
And you still never explore those things that you brought up.
Exactly. You set up a lot of things that don't pay off. And I think we've discussed this before. My theory on the Disney Plus series is they're like those issues of a comic book that are the prequel comic to the movie. So nothing of consequence can happen on a Disney Plus series because they're saving that for the movie. And that's kind of what I felt with Shang-Chi, is like, they didn't answer a lot of the big questions that were brought up in the film, because they're saving that for another movie or Secret Wars or whatever, Disney Plus series. I mean, this is why, that ending of Black Widow was so horrible. So this is now the plot of the Hawkeye series, which isn't even going to be about Hawkeye, right? Like it's so obvious. It's like watching what's happening to Marvel is a train wreck in slow motion is what we're seeing. All these narratives being pushed.
It's almost like it's not in slow motion, though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely not in slow motion, but it's
like, almost like it's taken a third of the time to tear it down that it took to build it. Right.
Exactly. And I don't know what the advantage is of tearing it down. I mean, I don't know why they see that it's so important to diminish the importance of these characters that built the universe in favor of new characters that aren't as beloved. Right. Like, and I think they underestimate, like, look, Captain America, whatever, I grew up watching the cartoon. I read the comics, in the 70s and 80s. You know what I mean? Like, that's a character that's been around a long time, that has a rich history, and now, brought to life in cinematic form through Chris Evans, right? Like that's a character that had like a lot of build, decades, like what, 70, 80 years going back. So I don't know. I think that they underestimate these new characters, or they're saying, like, I just don't know if it's going to go over well, is what I'm saying. They're trying to force these characters on modern audiences that are like, nah, it almost might have been better if because I'd heard a rumor once. Thank you, Script Doctor, for your insightful analysis.
Yeah, he wishes he could be here this morning too, but of course he had to be in the office this morning. But yeah,
but thank you, Script Doctor. But anyway.
I think Plus P made a comment. He says there's a difference between content and meaningful art. Danger Noodle commented that content is a death of creativity.
Yeah,
breaking the mold versus, say, not reducing the quality of the story and characters as a true art.
Well, Script Doctor, speaking of, I think he actually broke this down pretty good on, I don't remember if it was one of the morning shows or over on After Dark, but it don't really matter. The point being is, he said there's no incentive now, right? Like, when you put a show on television, to keep that show going, you have to get your audience engaged, and you have to keep them, and not only that, build and build and build. Otherwise, they're not going to continue the show. When it comes to these Netflix shows, there's no advertising incentive to be made there. There's no reason to build an audience. That's why Netflix, they do their 3 to 5 seasons and they're in and out. They don't give a shit, because that just turns it into content. It doesn't matter what is in there. It could be Citizen Kane. It could be Garbage Pail Kids. It don't fucking matter. It's the Schrodinger's cat of fucking entertainment. But guess what? It don't fucking matter, because it's all, to them, it's the same exact fucking thing. One thing is as good as the next. And I can't remember if it was Tom Conkle or Gary Tunnicliffe who made this or told us this story, but I think they both told us similar stories, actually, so it don't really matter. But they were talking about, they were worried about their movie opening, and they're like, oh, you don't have to worry. Your movie just has to be as entertaining as Avengers. And they're like, what? But my movie only cost like a couple $100,000, and Avengers is a multi-million-dollar film. And like, it doesn't matter. You're still filling 2 hours of time for that person. And as long as it's as entertaining as the next thing, doesn't matter how much it costs, right? That's the thing we've lost here, is instead of it being, as long as it's as good as something that costs $150 million, is that doesn't matter anymore. It's just, and that's where we've gotten with Star Trek, right? And, being Star Trek anniversary right now is the perfect time to bring it up. That's how we got to this point. That's why Kurtzman has gotten renewed. It's because it's not about Star Trek anymore. It's not about whether it's good or not. It's just about whether or not they can pump out the content.
Exactly.
That's what it is. And it does. It demeans what these are. And I'm curious to hear what you have to say about it, Chris, unless you, I don't know if I said it all there, but
well, you kind of said it all. I mean, I would just add an exclamation point on everything that you just said is so true. It's also like, I'm a big fan of documentaries. I love a really compelling documentary, but what I've noticed now on Netflix is they break up these documentaries into 6 episodes. They're like 6 hours. And I'm watching them going like, okay, this is cool. You went down this pathway. Like there's one in the Cecil Hotel that's really interesting, but like these documentary series would be just better off as movies. I feel like what they're doing is they're throwing in all the stuff that they would have normally edited out, and it feels like they're dragging it out specifically just keep me on the platform, right? That's
Snyder Cut. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Snyder Cut's a different, for me,
Hold on there. That's a different animal.
I really love that. And look, there's a 5-hour cut of Dune that Jason Momoa talked about that I would love to see someday. And I'm sure it's just the assembly. When they say they've got these cuts, well, of course, when you take everything that you shot and you assemble it together, the assembly is always longish, right?
Well, I just make the joke because I said I would have loved to have seen a Snyder cut that was his theatrical cut. Because I'm like,
exactly.
The Snyder cut was okay. It was definitely better than anything we had gotten so far to the DC universe. But I'm like, I would have loved to have seen a version that was about 45 minutes shorter, much tighter. Probably would have flowed smoother. But that was just the reason I made that joke. Sorry.
It could have been a 3-hour epic, even with an intermission. I know that sounds weird, but who is it? James Cameron argued that they should just charge more for longer movies. If you go to a movie, you see a 90-minute movie, it costs this. You see a 3-hour movie, it costs a little bit more, but you get an intermission. There is a place to get up and go to the bathroom, which is always good for me. Thank you, Chris Benavides. I probably butchered your name. My apologies. But yeah, they drag out these series where they would have been better off just, make it a 2.5-hour movie. Fine. But I don't need 6 hours where 2 or 3 of those hours are disposable, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where content is. It is filler. It is filler. It really is.
It feels like filler.
Because it doesn't matter what it is in there. It can be anything, right? It's almost like a grab bag.
Yeah.
Because to them, it's just bring in the next. And it only matters to them when it's a hit, right? Then they actually pay attention to it. That's why I'm scared for Cobra Kai. And I'm hoping season 4 and 5, they stuck by their guns. And they're like, nope, we're not taking any of these notes. We're doing what we're doing. It works. We're not going to fuck with the formula. And, that's the thing with Marvel is they kind of been fucking with the formula a little too much.
Absolutely. And I think
not only that, or they're like, okay, now we've got this formula. Let's just keep dragging it out. That's what I felt like the last 4 or 5 movies or TV shows and movies have been is I've seen this shit already.
Yeah.
I don't have to go see Shang-Chi. I've already seen it. I've seen Black Panther. I've seen it. Couple of Bruce Lee movies. I probably have seen this movie already. I don't feel like the incessant need to go out and see it right away like I do normally with Marvel movies.
It's just so obvious because it's very easy to deconstruct a Marvel movie now. In fact, what my hope is that if they do end up making another Deadpool movie via Disney, that fine, make it not R-rated, make it less blue. But what they should do is he should just deconstruct a Marvel movie. That's what the next Deadpool movie should be, is ripping apart Marvel and all the cliches, all the tropes, all the things that have just become obvious because as you pointed out, you've already seen Shang-Chi. You just haven't seen it with this window dressing, right?
Exactly.
But
so then basically in that scenario, Deadpool would become the lens by which we would basically re-look at everything that happened, slice and dice, and then be able to almost make a clean break and move forward.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't mind them bringing all these new, so many new characters into the Marvel universe. What is distressing, and I think is insulting to the fans, is to, destroy the legacy of previous characters. You know what I mean? Like that is the thing that is so irritating. So yeah, Chris needs a show where he drinks 3 coffees, turns on a camera. Okay, well, I have thought about that because people.
I would be there. That'd be like church, man.
After these film courage videos came out, people I should just do a live stream once a week. I just don't. Here's the problem: is I watch so many other live streams. Like, of course, Tom, I watch you and Andre, and I watch Gary Nerdrotic and Ryan Cannell, and among others, I watch. So it's like, when would I'd have to not watch those to do something myself. I might be too lazy for that, but yeah, I would. Mr. Tickle Trunk, thank you so much. I will more than likely in the next few weeks start to do that. I just
That would be awesome.
I just look at everyone else doing it and I'm like, well, they're so good. They're saying all the things, I would have said although the problem with me is I end up having a little piece of inside info that I wish if I was on the show, I could impart that inside info or clarify something. But then I would just probably come off like an asshole.
I don't think so. You're informed. And that's where I said, like,
we're
watching you would be like going to church every week, man. Like,
or like something like, they were saying, like, who was talking about, like, God, it was a while ago. Someone was talking about Galaxy's Edge and why isn't there more like original Star Wars trilogy stuff there? And it's because you got to pay something back to the likeness, right, of Mark Hamill or Harrison Ford or Carrie Fisher's estate. And that's why you don't see a lot of original trilogy stuff, right? It's all about the likenesses. That's why, like, this is a really weird, but look up the painting on the cover of the novel Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which was originally intended to be the sequel to Star Wars. If Star Wars was not a hit, George Lucas wanted to make a little indie movie version because he had the rights to the sequels. He's like, I'm gonna, and he had Alan Dean Foster write like this sort of low budget Star Wars adventure with, Luke and Leia and Darth Vader, right? And the droids, of course. But the painting on the cover of that novel, you only see the back of Luke's head and the back of, there you go. You see the back of it, like, because you're seeing the back, who those characters are, right? George Lucas owns the likeness of Darth Vader, right? I mean, David Prowse was in the suit, but he owned, that's why there's so many robots and all these other, because he owns those characters. God, I love that book when I was a kid. I don't know if it holds up, but I love the story behind that book.
Yeah, I remember Alan told us a similar story to that you just told when he was on here. And that was the thing, as he said, is like, in case they ended up just making a straight to TV film or something like that. Because I don't even know if they had, because I think you're right. I don't think they signed over their likeness rights until the second film.
Yeah. And then interesting, Alan Dean Foster is a big part of a documentary. I'm actually in that documentary too. I don't know. I think it's called Tied In Film, or it's either called Tied In Film or the novelization itself.
Yeah, I remember you talking about it. Yeah,
it's a documentary about novelizations. I have no idea when it's going to come out, but I mean,
actually, I think Robert told me about it too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, maybe Robert's in it too. I end up popping up in a lot of weird documentaries, mainly about pop culture and film. I'm in one about the Fantastic Four called Doomed.
Yes.
Which about the making. I believe that's on Amazon Prime now.
It was. I think it was on that or Hulu for a while. I almost got the director on here one time, but he got busy. He's a teacher, a professor.
Oh, wow. Or Chris could drink 6 cups of coffee as we played at half speed. That would be great. Mr.
Yeah. You just don't, then you only have to do it for 90 minutes.
Yeah, I just got to figure out, like, I just see the people doing it, like Gary Beekler at Neurotic, like, my God, that guy can go like 6-8 hours. It's like, God, I go 2 hours and I want to fall asleep. I'm just like, people like yourself, Tom. I mean, that's broadcasting. That's like, I would have to build up to that, I think. But
well, as Six said, if you need any help, let me know. I don't even want to be on the show necessarily. I just sit in the back and help you produce. But like, that's the hardest thing for like me when trying to do something on my own. That's why I need somebody like Mike or whatever. Is just doing it on your own sometimes can be difficult. So yeah, I admire how Gary can just flip on the camera and go.
Well,
right?
but that's after years of doing it, right? So, I mean, yeah. So at some point, I will do that, mostly as a way probably to just vent. But I do enjoy being a part of your show, Tom, and being able
I think a lot of people in the community would love that. Like, I mean, you're very well respected. I know you don't think because like, I know you're intimidated by certain things in the community, but it's like, no, dude, we respect you highly. And when you speak, we listen. That's why I said it'd be like going to church. It's kind of like the same thing with Robert. Like, I try to catch everything he does too, and I've been on several streams with him as well, but you guys have such a wealth of knowledge and experience. That's the other thing too.
Well, first of all, it's good to know that President Joe Biden, watching Midnight's Edge.
This is great. It's a great $50.
Wow.
What fascinating, surprising, and shocking that he would be a supporter of this channel, but he is.
Come on, man. Come on. I like the Mexican Iron Man.
Well, I
his
can't
thing
say
with the thing, and I like it.
Well, I can't say Mexican Iron Man likes you, but I do like
Come
your
on,
super
man.
chat.
He likes the thing. Iger couldn't put Feige in as CEO because he was widely seen as irreplaceable. Come on, man. So Feige is giving more power to underlings, grooming replacements. I think you're not wrong. Quality is in free fall. The gamble is that Chapek gets ousted before Marvel movies burn to the ground.
Yeah,
You could be right there, but I'm not so sure that Chapek is the problem as he is the solution. But we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, so curiously, this is a very generous super chat, Mr. Biden. Thank you for that.
Have we nailed all the other super chats before that?
No, I'm going to go back and get them. But since this was a big one, and it's from the president.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to ask real quick before we hit the super chats. I have a quick question for Chris. Chris, there's only so much time and attention we have during the week. You know what I've discovered about myself, and this is just recently because I moved, is that even though I still have a cable package, I find myself having been a fan of different fandom properties. Now I'm a fanatic or a fan of various YouTube channels, and there's only so much attention that we have. What have you found that, but I still want to watch movies. I go to a movie at least once a week, and I have for probably 2 decades. And when I can, I do 2 movies a week if I can. And what have you found in terms of this, the YouTube, the emergence of YouTube and some of the content and the creativity that we now have on YouTube? What have you found that about how you spend your time?
Well, I mostly watch YouTube. I will say that it's definitely replaced traditional television because YouTube has the ability to do something that traditional television cannot do, and that is interactivity directly with the audience. So there's that aspect where I can be on watching a live stream or just watching, whatever, and my voice is a part of the conversation. That is not, so it's YouTube is more of a two-way street. So I find myself watching YouTube more. Additionally, in contrast to traditional mainstream media, I have found that people who are commentators on YouTube are people who are skeptics. And I have always been skeptical of mainstream media. Even back in the 80s and 90s when I was doing film, I never trusted newspapers necessarily. I would even so I moved from Detroit, Michigan to Los Angeles to do a magazine in the 90s, right? And I would hear rumors about myself from Detroit that I knew were not true. And I was like, well, wow, that's all and so then I read stuff in the trades and I'm like, the trades are bullshit. The trades, Hollywood Reporter, Variety, the stories that you read in there are mostly announcements of things or exaggerations of success, which is why there's always some way to couch something as number one. It's number one, and it's the biggest Labor Day. They're trying to thread the needle very carefully of stating some fact that puts out the perception of success. So in my opinion, because of that, because it's all about optics, this is true both in entertainment and politics, that mostly what you're seeing are lies. And behind the curtain is what's real. And what YouTube has offered the opportunity for is a glimpse behind the curtain and an opportunity for the audience to participate. And I think that YouTube is kind of broken that. It's broken traditional, when you look at something like the Oscars getting 10 million viewers, the Oscars was the freaking Super Bowl, right? That was like an annual event that people worldwide watch. And now it's just become less relevant. It's become just more, propaganda, right? Here's the group think that you all must have. And that's disheartening. I believe in more discussion and more skepticism, and this is true of mainly my focus is entertainment, but politics blends in. Now it's almost impossible. Politics has made its way into almost every conversation, even and I don't want to belabor that. We see it happening before us, but that's why I prefer to watch. I almost prefer to watch something like if I was going to watch CNN, I'd watch it on YouTube, right? Does that make because you'll get comments and you'll get people, and then you really see and what renews my faith, because I think it's very easy these days to be blackpilled. I went and saw John Williams at the Hollywood Bowl this weekend, which was amazing.
I saw he was there. Yeah.
He played Yoda's theme, and I'm like, I haven't felt like just listening to Yoda's theme. Like I haven't felt like that in so long. Like I haven't felt that sense of optimism in so long. We live in an age of divisiveness and fear and othering other people for so many reasons that are ridiculous, and trying to vilify people for reasons that sober-minded people who believe in common sense would never fall for. And so it's sickening the time that we live in now. But what renews my faith is reading comments on YouTube. You know what I mean? So when I read the comments, I'm like, oh, most people have common sense. People have common sense.
Yeah, well, most people do, but anymore it almost seems like super sense, as Script calls it, because it's not so common anymore.
It's not so common, yeah. Well, yeah, but that's what's good about the skepticism of the commenters on YouTube. There's a great Dragon Con was also this past weekend. I did not attend, unfortunately, just because number of reasons, but it was and the event did take place. But what I love about Dragon Con, as opposed to other conventions of its type like San Diego, LA Comic-Con, etc., is that they do tracks about science. They do tracks, so they do panel tracks about certain types of topics. They'll do Star Wars and Tolkien, and then they also do things like skeptics and science. They actually have I was on a panel with some people from the military talking about the different think tanks that the military puts together about certain scenarios and how to deal with them. And one was like a zombie outbreak or a zombie apocalypse. How would the military actually deal with a zombie apocalypse? And I think it would less turn into Walking Dead, less than you think, mainly because in the United States, there are so many gun owners that any sort of, the cities would be a terrible place to be, but people would actually be able to survive it. So
I think the first Night of the Living Dead kind of got that right. Like all the guys are out there hunting and shit. It's in the Midwest, they got this pretty much underhand.
Yeah, they're all messed up.
Now that I'm in South Carolina, Chris, I can tell you this much: I'm ready for the zombie apocalypse. You just try to come on my property.
Exactly. Yeah. So what I like about Dragon Con is that they include science and speculation and skepticism as a part of the conversation, which is why that's one of my favorite conventions to go to. It's just not also because the cosplay is so on point. They make fun of everything. It's including themselves. And just thank you for the chat. Like everybody just, and thank you for your support of Midnight's Edge.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I will at some point do something on my own channel where I just I don't know. I feel like I haven't figured out how to be good on YouTube. I know how to talk, but I think I know how to talk, but I don't know how to be good on YouTube.
You are great on YouTube. Morning. What are you talking about? I've been watching your videos. I watched you with Ryan on his stream for that 3 hours that you did. You're great, bro. You're great because you know what you have, Chris? You have integrity, you're open, you're sincere, and you have knowledge. And that's all we as fans look for. And you got it all.
Well, I appreciate it. That gives me at least some confidence to probably do something in the future. I just have to figure out when to do it because I don't want to conflict with other stuff that I watch. Does that seem like a terrible thing to say?
No, I have the same problem.
I'm like, I'm not going to do it then because, that conflicts with so-and-so. Like we do these watch parties at Film Thread on Fridays, and I actually got another host to do it because it conflicted with me watching FNT. You know what I mean? Like I got Friday Night Tights, and so it's like, oh shoot, these watch parties are conflicting, and I always have to watch it later, and it's like, so every once a week on the Film Threat YouTube channel, we pick an indie movie and then we get the filmmakers and the actors. If it's a documentary, we bring people on and talk about the movie and we kind of watch it together. It's like a running DVD commentary, but we do it on Fridays and that just conflicts. So I don't know. I got to figure out, maybe Thursday night or something. I'll do something. I'll figure out something that'll be a weekly hangout. But
Well,
yeah.
like I said, I'm sure
And
there's
before
more
we
than enough
jump
of us
switch,
that
we
glad
really
to
need to
help you
hit these
out,
super
so.
chats, Tom.
Yes, we
Sorry,
do.
yeah.
No, these don't be sorry at all. We love the conversation, and the audience is loving you. In fact, Mr. Tickle Trunk sent in $5 earlier and said, "Buckles up, welcome Chris Gore's ranting."
Thank you.
So he's ready. And then we had Michael Miller who said, "Can we get a streaming special Apollo Dune?" We got that one. Then we got the Jam and D one. Thank again for that very generous super chat. Naked Fame came in with good morning, Midnight's Edge in the morning. Good morning, chat. Happy Star Trek Day and another happy day. Yeah, I watched Star Trek the Motion Picture last night. It was fun. It is Star Trek Day. Have you enjoyed Star Trek recently at all, Chris, or gone back to any of the classic films or anything?
I watched the first 4 episodes of Discovery and did not like it. So I have not watched, and what I have watched is all of the people who I respect, Robert Meyer Burnett being among them, Gary from Neurotic, like just talk about how disappointing Star Trek is. And it's like, after the debacle that was Star Wars, I decided I did not want to put myself through that. So I stopped watching. And I'm someone that I would go to Star Trek Vegas when it was called STLV, man. Star Trek Las Vegas. That was the thing, like every year to go to that. And my God, it's just when I see that it's like they've turned their back on the old school fans. And thank you for thank you, Deranged Lunatic, aka DL. I appreciate it. Attack of the Show I got away with a lot on that show, more than you know. Yeah, I have not really enjoyed the modern Star Trek. I went to the 50th anniversary and at STLV, and it just, now that's sort of like fallen off my radar. I like the original series, Next Generation. I like most of the movies, Star Trek the Motion Picture being among my personal favorites. Star Trek is devolved into, again, it's let's push agenda, and that agenda is above storytelling. Agenda and types of characters are even above character and storytelling. And I think that's, and what's weird is that people are like, oh, Star Trek is so woke. Star Trek was always like socially ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was always humanist and progressive, but
it didn't push it because the characters in that universe never saw it as a big deal. Hence the message, which is it isn't a big deal.
Exactly.
These things are not a big deal, and now it's being pointed at and virtue signaled, which makes it just sort of annoying. Who is it? Danica she's Comic Book Girl 19. And I've watched her for years. What she call it? These Marvel moms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll be back in a sec. I'll be back in a second.
Yeah, while you're doing that, we're gonna get caught up on these mountain of super chats here, Tom.
Oh, well, we're more than happy to go through them, though, because we love you guys, and we thank you so much for the donations and the support. Like this one from Hyper Guyver, who asked a question, Chris. So I'm going to come right back to that one as soon as Chris gets back. Let's see what Mike Tomlin has to say. Says, I think you guys are overcritical. It's a movie, not a documentary, and it made Asian American movie, not a Chinese one. And I love it, and we'll see it again. And we're glad you love it, Tom, or Mike Tomlin. And yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I was looking forward to it. I just feel like from what I keep hearing from people is it's just kind of bogged down in a lot of the nonsense that it didn't need to be. And then the other side of it is I feel like the film is doing very well without them trying to make it look better than it is as well. I've heard a couple people who like it too, and I respect everybody's opinion on the film, and I may still see it. I was one of the only ones in the group who was kind of just like neutral on the whole thing. I just didn't really have a reason to love or hate it going in, and I'm trying to do my best to stay neutral on it and just kind of look at it from the corporate side of things and all that kind of stuff. But
you're wonderful about that. You always are open-minded, and you always, and then take my case. I didn't know who the character was. You were always fair leading up to this thing. You didn't jump into the hate Marvel universe thing. But that's your personality. You're a very fair guy. and I went to see it because R&B loved it, and Paulie had a going reservation. Well, I walked out when the rabbit chicken showed up. When the rabbit chicken led the way, I walked out. I didn't like it at all, but everybody's going to have a different reaction.
I might have a similar one though, so who knows? Then again, Robot Chicken might have been my favorite part of the movie. Who knows? That's
Rabbit chicken.
Or did I say Robot Chicken?
Yeah.
I know I tried not to do that like 20 times last night too. Chris is back, so we have one for you, Chris, here from Hyper Guyver, who asks, do you think movies like Taken, John Wick, and Nobody have helped or hurt action genre or damaged action hero beyond repair by using the regular guy trope as a base for the action hero?
I don't know if it's ruined it, but it definitely has made it, like when you do something like that over and over, especially Liam Neeson, who is, oh my God, he's in the same movie every movie now. It's just a different take on that type of film. I don't think it's ruined it. I'm glad that those movies are in the mix, but it certainly gets a bit tired when they all kind of blend together, right? So I don't think it'll ever ruin it, but it's like you got to move on to some different tropes, I guess, or reinvent it in some way. And also, I really love the John Wick movies. I think they're, the third one, just got to point of ridiculousness. But I'm looking forward to seeing I'm really looking forward to seeing the Matrix trailer, which is tomorrow at 6 a.m. LA time?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. They showed a little tease. We'll see. I think a lot of people even predicted what the title would be, Resurrections. So
yeah.
I'm curious. I'm certainly curious, but it's so weird for a movie that big to just now start promoting it in September for a December release seems kind of late in the game. Are we shrinking not only the window, the theatrical window to streaming that's been shrunk, or in the case of HBO Max, shrunk to 0 days. Now we've shrunk the window because of our attention span is so short. We don't promote a movie a year or more in advance. It's promoted months in advance, right?
Well, actually, this was something coming into last year that happened. I don't know if remember, you must not have heard this, but there's always been this rule, or not so much a rule, but an agreement between the theaters and the studios on what windows they would release advertising for films within.
Right.
And it never used to be such a big deal, but I guess with so many movies coming out and the way they've been mass advertising things, and with the internet now, it's becoming so they said they were going to shrink down the window, because I guess it was supposed to be 4 months out from a movie they would start advertising, right? And that was going to be the new deal. And then they would do 1 or 2 special movies a year that would be 6 months they'd have a teaser. But now with this whole pandemic thing, and they don't know when a movie's coming out, I think a lot of that has more to do with it than anything. So they're saving all the money they can on advertising. Because remember Suicide Squad, they didn't even drop that trailer till almost a month until the movie came out. It was
right.
Matter of weeks or whatever. And it was wow, they're just finally starting to drop stuff on this. And we're seeing the same thing with a few other movies. So I think that has more to do with it. But I remember telling people this a while back when they're like, where's this trailer? Where's that trailer? It's you won't see a trailer now till about 4 to 6 months out from the movie now, compared to what we used to. Yeah. Even then, it's going to be sparse until that month before. That's really when they're pushing it. And I think in the future, they're going to really be more careful on that, because Bond lost their ass on dumping $30 million on advertising before they decided to pull the movie at the last minute. So,
well, yeah, these it's difficult in the before times to compare. Everything, the rules have been rebooted and reset, so to speak.
Right.
So I just really, the thing that I'm most encouraged by with Shang-Chi, whatever you think of it, and I did not hate the movie. I think the movie was burdened by the title character not being really the most compelling character, and it was burdened by setting up other things that are going to happen in other movies or Disney Plus series, which I think is I think that's terrible. I'm not a fan of that, but it was a fun film, and its success. I saw it. I saw a screening of it. I was not invited to a screening. I have friends that will invite me to screenings. I'm not exactly at the top of the press list. I'm no John Campea. Let me just say that. But I do have friends that will invite me as their +1 to a screening. So I saw it, and then I saw it on a Saturday morning at 11:30 a.m. in a theater that was packed. And it was kids and families. And I thought, you know what? People are done. They want to go to the movies. I mean, there are certain rules to follow. And I'm like, fine. I'm coming to the movies. You're not stopping me. Right. So that was very encouraging. So the box office for Shang-Chi and then moving up Venom 2, I think is encouraging. I think people want to get back to life, and people want to make their own informed health choices. I think, I have faith people can do that. So that was just so great to see so many people at the movies and see the box office success. Just was like, good, movies are back. Movies are back, baby. So love it.
And super chats.
Yes, sir. Moving on here, we got Lee Kindler, sorry. Sends at $4.99. I get that name brands rule the roost in Hollywood, but sometimes it seems like they are anti-creativity. Is a course correct possible? Ugh, I can't read this morning. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong on that, Lee Kindler. I've brought this point up many, many a time where Hollywood used to be more embarrassed by sequels and trying to milk, IPs for all they could. Now that's the norm. What do you say to that, Chris? I mean,
here's the problem is that there aren't the type of people. There's a documentary here. Here comes a recommendation. Oh my! It's called Laddie, Laddie, and it's about Alan Ladd Jr. And what did Alan Ladd Jr. do? He greenlit Star Wars. He greenlit that movie. And what I think is missing today are people in executive positions who understand creativity, who understand the creative mind, and they understand enough to get out of the way of people who are creative, like a George Lucas or like a Francis Ford Coppola or like a Martin Scorsese. This is why the 70s was the last great era of American cinema. And there were people in creative positions then that just guided and supported people like a George Lucas. So this documentary, Laddie, is about Alan Ladd Jr.'s career. Nice. And you see where he creatively contributed to a lot of iconic films, including movies like The Exorcist and whatnot. So you need to see that documentary, but that does not exist today because what you have in Hollywood is a climate of climbers, which is people that care more about position than the end result. And it's very difficult for someone like as passionate as, say, someone like yourself, Tom or Mike, or, people that aren't on this live stream that could probably, if you wanted to suck it up, be in an executive position and creatively put, this is where you see people commenting in the comments, making better choices about creative choices on sort of an executive level than people in those positions. I think Kathleen Kennedy probably being the most obvious example of someone who doesn't understand what Star Wars is, who couldn't in the first fucking Star Wars movie sequel reunite Han, Luke, and Leia. For that alone, I'm sorry, this is a rant, and I'm apologies for the colorful language.
No. Don't apologize.
Go, Chris, go. The crowd demands it. Go, Chris, go. Hold on.
I'm telling you, how could you not make that a thing that has to happen? How do you kill Han Solo in the way that you did? It's unconscionable to me to look at that. And a lot of people say Last Jedi was an attempt at a course correct. Misguided, but I really like a lot of things about The Last Jedi. I hated The Force Awakens. I hated that movie. It was a way to shoehorn in all these new. I don't care about those people yet. Bring back the trio, or throw Lando in the mix, or people I care. How do you have R2-D2 not in the whole movie? It's ridiculous. That movie is an atrocity. And I don't know why she was not fired after that first film. And I'll tell you exactly why, because it made so much freaking money. And I think it's because after the prequels, yeah, oh, wow. Oh, man. Thank you. That's awesome.
Put that together for us.
Thank you, Doug. So cool. But
the great Doug Nilsson. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Doug. But it's like, how do you not make that? Like any of us would have made. This is what I'm saying is Kathleen Kennedy a fan? No. And originally they were, at least it was George Lucas's understanding that I'm handing my company over to you and you're going to use these outlines and these ideas, right, in the sequels, right? And he was completely betrayed. I mean, there's plenty of videos about that. I mean, where you see George Lucas seeming to have an understanding that he is handing his beloved property, his characters, his children, may as well be his children, over to someone he's come to trust only to be completely betrayed. I don't think George Lucas will ever be completely honest about that. There was one little video that leaked where George was part of some classroom discussion, and he talked about that the only racism in Star Wars was, against droids, which made sense in light of the Clone Wars, right? You don't trust droids because, hey, we fought a galactic war, with these droids. We don't really trust droids so much, right? They're a useful tool like a toaster, but we don't really trust them. And I don't know. And he basically talked about that he's not really involved in Star Wars anymore and kind of said no comment, but he kind of commented by saying no comment. But this is why I stopped watching Star Trek. It's like my memory of Star Trek is great and I'm going to keep that. I don't want to torture myself. I'll watch one day. I will watch Gary from Nerdrotic's Picard review. That'll be better. That'll be more satisfying than if I ever watched Picard to see that Picard review.
I have even more entertainment for you. I was assigned by Andre and Tom, and it's coming this fall, is the Culture Casino, and Paulie from Latino Slant will be watching Picard, and I'm going to snip it and slice it up into little segments for live reaction videos for Midnight's Edge. Andre asked them, they said yes, so I'm going to produce it, and it's going to launch this fall.
Oh my God. Yeah.
We'll get Wins a Winner before we get Gary's Picard review. Let's be real.
It was mostly the stuff, because I've known Rob Burnett since the 90s. I mean, we met when I was doing a magazine called Sci-Fi Universe back in the day, and which was responsible for a lot of, there's an article in there, you can probably find it. It's called 50 Reasons Why Return of the Jedi Sucks. And you will not see that movie. And I love, like in retrospect, I love like Return of the Jedi, especially the throne room scene at the end is fantastic. But it'll make you look at that movie differently. It's really in any case, that's where Rob and I met. And we've had so many, this is before Rob was a YouTuber. It would just sort of like unspoken. We would all be at the same Thursday night screening of a movie. And then it was like this Algonquin table of people sitting around talking. This is before, even podcasting, right? Like just,
right.
We'd see a movie and then all go out for drinks after or dinner.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
about the movie.
Guess what, kids? We used to get together out in this place called Public.
Yeah, Public. And then we would just it's like, I look at Rob, it's like, because I watch Rob, he has like 9 shows now on YouTube.
I know that's the only difficult part is keeping up with him. So
I messaged him. I'm like, dude, when are you not on YouTube? Like he's got 9. I'm like, dude, come on.
I mean, people make the joke that I don't sleep. It's like me. Well, Robert Meyer Burnett, motherfucker, is on a stream 24/7.
Not just that, Tango Shalom, which was very well reviewed on.
Exactly. Yeah. And then he's doing a movie and a TV show.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. But like when I'm watching him on YouTube, it's like, oh, this is just Rob. Like he's no different than when I knew him in the 90s or just like again, an unspoken thing. Like it's just sort of like, it was actually the ArcLight, the Cinerama Dome, where everyone would just get whatever the first screening was on Thursday. This group of friends we wouldn't even discuss it. We would just buy those tickets. And then we'll meet in the bar after privately or some other place and then just all chat. Right. And so watching Rob on YouTube is just like, oh, this is just like, we're talking after. So, yeah, I And this is why I think, I've enjoyed so much discovering so many like-minded individuals on YouTube. So I appreciate everyone in the chat tolerating my lengthy rants.
No, we love them, and we love you, Chris. And the name of the movie was Laddie, so Chris recommends. We got him.
Yeah, it'll give you some insight by contrast with why movies today are not as well formed. It's to me, it's too many cooks, right? It's people giving notes that aren't qualified, that don't understand the craft, right? That
somebody who says that often is Andre the Boss Man.
Andre.
Greetings! Finally, I'm here. I'm so sorry that I came so late, but wait. I do believe we had some excellent Chris Gore rants. So I'm sure everyone was much more interested in that anyway.
But since I don't get to do this very often,
you're fired. You're unfired. I need you. Come here.
How many years have you waited to do that?
Oh, long time. I'm early for once, and Andre is late. No. Well, hopefully everything is okay, and we're glad to finally have you here, Andre. We were just in the middle of super chats, but Chris, as always, was imparting such great knowledge upon us today. And yeah, quick cleanup, everybody.
Yeah.
Hide the bong.
Exactly. So yeah, no, I didn't mean to interrupt the flow or anything like that. So yeah, Chris, just feel free carry on with the rants. Or I don't know what you have been speaking about. I haven't been able to catch up just yet, but I imagine there would have been some Dune talk, and of course, Robert Meyer Burnett is the best. I did get that towards the end there, though.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy to see Tango Shalom do so amazing. Yeah. After all the struggle he had getting that made. Like, he's been on that thing, not just made, but funded and financed, and like in everything. It's been like 5 years of blood, sweat, and tears. And I'm so happy to see that pay off for him. I can't wait to see the movie once it hits Norwegian shores, one way or the other.
Yeah, I know. And I've been talking to about two for a while now. And I remember telling him, and this is what was really cool. I'm trying to find the article here real quick, but I've been telling him this for months. I'm like, dude, you're underselling this movie. Like, I get it. It's not like a sci-fi movie or anything like that we would normally be into in our community. But it's like, we are film lovers, right? We are interested in this stuff. And I'm like, this could be like the next, Big Fat Greek Wedding or something like that. And then this headline comes up. And I mean, I was saying this shit to Robert months ago. So like, I love it when this kind of stuff happens. I was so giddy when I saw this. So I can't wait to see the film. I've been hearing great stuff about it.
Yeah, there we go.
And there it is. My Big Fat Greek Wedding pedigree. I told him like that's the market you need to tap into, man. Like, this movie has possibility to be bigger than you're giving it credit for. So kudos to him, and hopefully it gets some more attention.
Maybe we can do a watch party at some point with him. That would be pretty sweet.
Something like that would be great. Yeah. But anyway, Chris, you were talking about, I think we were in the middle of, where were we? Gosh, we were just finishing up Lee Kindler's super chat about anti-creativity in Hollywood. And of course, you were talking about Alan Ladd Jr., and then we got to Robert Meyer Burnett. Yeah. So that brings us back around to our next super chat, where Nick's Radio said the MCU is the Taco Bell version of the Marvel Universe. Yes. It is now.
Yeah. God, that Taco Bell analogy is so perfect.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. It's, what can you say?
And then Reg plus P says there's a difference between content and meaningful art. I think that was just a comment that Mike threw in there, but yes, very true. Trenchman said that Marvel makes me wish for Foxverse. Ooh, yeah, that's not good. Because the Foxverse was nothing to really brag about. That was a non-starter how many times?
Yeah.
Well, because didn't they have two different sets of Fantastic Four they were going to try and mix in with the X-Men at some point?
Oh, well, they never could. That actually was only a marketing line. It was complete desperation when they saw
I thought there was
even Four Stick when that was failing, then like the final marketing was like, oh, this is going to cross over with the X-Men.
Oh,
at some
you're
point.
right. I never mind. I
Yeah.
know what it was. I was going to say I thought there was a scene with Wolverine, but it was just a scene
Nope.
from one of the X-Men movies they threw in at the end of the movie or some shit.
Yeah,
like that.
they can do that, but they can't actually they can like reuse stock footage that they own, but they can't go actually use like any characters or something, because here's like the thing: Fox, they had the X-Men license and they had the Fantastic Four license, but these were two completely legally separate licenses, just like He-Man and She-Ra, and never again shall the two meet. While they were at Fox, they could make X-Men movies, they could make Fantastic Four movies, but they couldn't cross them together, not without Marvel say so. And why would Marvel give them that when they were setting up their own universe?
Yeah.
Well, I hope one day to get a good Fantastic Four movie. I don't think that's ever going to happen.
The
I
odds are
think
not
you
in your
already
favor.
got it. You already got your good Fantastic Four movie, the best Fantastic Four movie you're ever
Roger
going
Corman's.
to get. That's the one.
Exactly. Oh,
It's the only one they actually cared about the story, it seemed like. Or
Yeah.
to be even accurate.
Yeah.
Even when they couldn't, they still tried to be accurate.
Yeah, they tried as good with the limited means they had.
Yeah, Troy Pacelli then chimes in with, they're not trying to destroy Marvel. The corporate formula has taken over what was intelligent storytelling and craftsmanship. Oh, yeah, I think you're right, Troy. As we said, I don't think they're intentionally going out and trying to destroy these franchises, but it just the idea of building on a franchise just doesn't jive with their personal politics is the problem. So it just in turn destroys itself. Plus the fact that they have no creativity. I don't know if Chris has anything to add to that, but yeah.
No, it's just the corporatization of everything. You know what I mean? It's like I've worked in the corporate world in my past. I will never be able to go back to that environment, and I'm not sure they would have me. So I've always been entrepreneurial in my career, and now that's just I think the only choice, which I think is a better choice. It's certainly affords you more freedom when it comes to whether it's creating a comic book or an independent movie or a YouTube channel or whatever. Being entrepreneurial, I think, is really the right pathway. People forget that George Lucas is the most successful independent filmmaker of all time. His company, I mean, he hated Hollywood so much he moved away and located his company in Northern California just to be away from it because he so despised the industry, and rightly so. It's just, it's funny because he was the world's most successful indie filmmaker. I don't know how he sees himself now. It's just disheartening what's happened to the legacy of the Star Wars franchise. So there you are.
There you go.
Yeah, it really is, and that's like the thing. So good luck with Jon Favreau trying to fix that.
Then Last Millennial asks if I would rather have good Trek trilogy or Motu. Probably Motu because I'm more of a Motu fan, but I know everybody would love some. I mean, we were fine with Masters of the Universe just being what it was. Didn't need any new stuff. The new stuff is just ruining it.
You know what? I actually would say that I would prefer a real good Motu at this point rather than Star Trek. I think Star Trek at this point, it's been through so much damage over the last decade that there's almost no going back for it. I mean, just look at the merchandise sales that were always like hot sellers and everything, but fans are burned out, and of course, you can never like judge from yourself, but for myself, I'm mostly over Star Trek. Certainly the next generation version of it, and that's not the fault of what's been before. It's Picard that really just ended it for me. Whereas Motu, all the potential in the world, unless they find a way to continue what Kevin Smith started there as well.
Well, we'll see. I'm not. I was never a Motu fan, so
And that's fine. I mean, you have to be like of a certain age when it came out. Like if you were younger or if you're older, then no one can possibly kind of like expect anyone to really be into it. But and when you look at the starting point, it started out as a toy line, and that of course is like a dreadful starting point. However, between the makers of Filmation and some of the other creators that have been working on the line before and after, I submit that they were able to create something truly special there that can stand the test of time in the hands of the right creators. Kevin Smith and Biacelli over at Netflix have shown themselves not to be those creators. But the mythology is a sound one, even if it had like a sketchy beginning.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, I
was kind of saying Mo too, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I am a Kevin Smith fan. But I feel in many ways he's just been absorbed into that Hollywood thinking. And I got to think that deep down that's not how he really feels about things, but he's had to kind of mold. I mean, I'm surprised they haven't tried to come after Kevin Smith because his humor and his, is very blue. He's very honest and direct. So I'm just surprised that they haven't come after him to cancel him. I'm happy that they have not, but I don't know.
Not the same Kevin Smith that we all used to know and love, or maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. And the work speaks. The work loudly speaks for that belief.
We'll see. We'll see what he does with like Clerks 3. I mean, he could even respond to, like Jay and Silent Bob's Strike Back was like a response to a lot of things that were happening online. He may in fact have a reference or two or a comment within that movie. Who knows?
My problem with it is it went beyond that. Like I could have forgave him at a point. My point where he left that arena was where he's like, it's just a fucking show about kids' toys. It's like, dude, you did not just fucking say that.
Right.
Like, I mean, you of all people should understand that it doesn't matter. Like Star Wars means something to people. You have sat there for years and been made fun of because you were a Star Wars geek. And then you have the audacity to go out there and say it doesn't matter what you did to this show because it's just a fucking toy. It's like, dude, you totally are misunderstanding what the hell happened here. He could have just went out and said, I'm sorry if you didn't like it, blah, 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 blah. Wait till the second half. Maybe you'll enjoy it. We're trying to do something different. Hey, whatever. But no, being antagonistic with the fans and YouTubers and then turning around and saying stuff like that, it was like, okay, I'm done. Like I can get past like the lying and the shilling and the crying, but when it comes to the lying, as far as like, saying shit like that to the fans, that it's going to be this and the other, I can even get past some of that stuff. When you sit there and saying it doesn't matter and that's why it shouldn't matter what I do to this property because it's just a fucking toy, he's completely missing the point and he's lost. He's no longer the Kevin Smith we know. I heard that from even people in the community that I respect, and it just kind of really hit me hard. It's like, wow, I get it. To you, it may have just been a toy because at the point it came out in your life, it was a toy. But there are kids that grew up with that toy, right? Like that show was their first exposure to certain things. Andre, for instance, that was one of his first major exposures to stuff outside of Norway that was bland kids entertainment, right? Like
exactly. Well, okay, let's be clear. When we say bland kids entertainment, what you're trying to say is outright commie kids entertainment, because that's what we had. I mean, culturally, we were behind the Iron Curtain, and I mean it literally. He-Man changed my life. He-Man made me see that there's a world out there beyond this, not just like a world of color of imagination, but who the hell could make something like this? This is so different from the communist moles and communist neighbors doing home improvement that I'm used to from children's entertainment. What kind of world, what kind of society could create something like this? Like, this is what I mean. He-Man may have started out as a children's toy, but it became something so much more than that. Of course, not to everyone. Not to everyone. Experiences will vary. To me, it was an eye-opener. It was my first exposure to the English language. I mean, my first English teacher was He-Man. And also, Mike, I know that you also have like a story of how like He-Man was the great equalizer when you were growing up.
Well, I think that's why I became a fan of Tom's and Midnight Sage After Dark first, and then I think one of your shows where you talked about He-Man is what brought me to Midnight Sage right after. And I mean, now we're really good friends, all of us. But I mean, I think one of the reasons I have such a trigger warning with this woke stuff is because when I was a kid, I was the only Mexican kid in this part of San Jose that we were in. My mom worked 2 jobs to afford the shittiest apartment we could afford in this nice part of town so I could go to a good school. And it was that experience of every day after school at around 3:30. We would all meet, and my apartment complex was shaped in an L, and there was this little dirt mound with a tree on it, a palm tree, and we would none of us had all the character toys, but we would reenact the episodes, different ones, and it was great. And I never understood any problems about race or diversity or differences. It was God, I can't believe I still get emotional about this. It was the great equalizer.
I mean. Exactly. It
was the great equalizer for me because it didn't matter who any of us were. We were all having fun together.
Yeah. And I think that's what so many underestimate about He-Man. Because, yeah, many people, you can dismiss it as just a toy or something. But that particular toy meant so much to so many people. Like, yeah, you may not go and actively talk about it or anything, but it's like something that to a great deal of people, with the end of the story, morals, everything, it had a huge impact in their lives. Like, Mike, you have a great story. I think that mine also is unique, and there are so many others that have that. And then for Kevin Smith to come out and say it's just a kid's toy, like, you're completely missing exactly what it is you're dealing with here. And yeah, it started out as a kid's toy, but it transcended that, and it became so much more. Like, for instance, we know that Star Wars is everything to him. I could easily say, screw that, because I didn't grow up with Star Wars. I wasn't exposed to that as a kid. So I have no emotional connection to it. He-Man is my Star Wars. I mean, it's weird, but it's true. That's how it is. And it's that of course may be like unique to me and a few in my location, but still, it's a huge thing. However, all the people that are hurt and betrayed by Kevin Smith, none of those are going to go and cancel him. They're just going to stop watching his stuff. Like, I think that many of the people that were built in to watch Clerks 3, they're probably going to be significantly less enthusiastic about that. The only ones that would ever come to try to cancel Kevin Smith, ironically, are the people who would approve of what he did to He-Man, and they would cancel him for what he has done in the past.
Exactly. Which is why I think he's kissing so much ass right now, to bring it back to the beginning, Chris. Like, I mean, he could hopefully redeem himself, but I think it's way beyond that now. I mean, the only way he could do that is if he actually has like a one-on-one with this community and I mean the Motu fans, and he's like, look, I'm sorry, I didn't understand, and blah, blah, blah. And that's really all it's going to have to be, is him eating a lot of crow. And I just don't see that happening.
Well, I'll tell you where it might happen is San Diego Comic-Con, if that even happens. You know what I mean? Like
true.
Comic-Con, he always does a panel, and he's very, vocal, and fans like ask him sometimes uncomfortable questions. He generally spins it to make it kind of funny, but we'll see. I mean, San Diego Comic-Con is supposed to do an event in November. I wonder now if it's going to happen or how it may happen. And I can tell you it's going to be difficult to get talent to go there because it's Thanksgiving weekend. So
yeah, I don't know.
Who knows?
I wonder if it's gonna be behind a big plexiglass thing, and you're gonna have to pay in order to be able
to do it. Yeah.
Who knows?
Try and do it virtually again or something.
Yeah, I mean, they've done the virtual one now for 2 years in a row. So, but I mean, look, concerts are happening. lots of things are making a comeback. I mean, they could possibly, look, if they're doing it in November, they could make Hall H Petco Park, space people out and put everything on a big screen.
True.
And you could get more people in there. What is Hall H holds about 8,000 people. I mean, Petco Park, you could probably have double that and still spaced out, right? Like,
yeah,
that's where really they should have San Diego Comic-Con have it there, right? Like, I don't know.
Makes more sense if you think about it. You got a point there.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on with some of these super chats. Since we have a lot of classic super chats to get through, we don't want to.
I understand that Chris, you have some limited time, so then if we can go through the one specific to Chris.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, I got to run shortly, so yeah, if you want to go through those, that'd be great.
Yeah, exactly. Well, then we can go back to the.
They're all in the private chat. Every single one.
Now, I'm just going to try and go in order as much as I can. The last millennial says, "Which streaming service do you like the most?" I find myself watching a lot of HBO Max, and I don't even have Netflix anymore. Well, Chris, we answer this quite often, so let's just go with you right now.
Yeah, HBO Max is probably my favorite, and just in terms of variety. The only thing I don't like about HBO Max is the user interface. I think is terrible. They need to fix that UI, but it's a good mix for me. HBO Max Disney Plus is probably my least favorite, just because any of the Disney movies I like I already own on Blu-ray ways. So and the new programming, none of it interests me. And after having seen the Disney Plus series that Marvel's putting out, those don't interest me either. Because again, they're like the prequel comics. I'll go see the Marvel movies. It's just my level of interest. I'm seeing them. It seems like every Marvel movie I'd see like 2-3 times. Now it's like once is fine, but yeah, I would say HBO Max my favorite, Disney Plus my least favorite.
There you go. And that kind of echoes what we've said too.
Yeah.
So Gino X 1987 sends in $5 says Netflix sure didn't want to give Dark Crystal more than one season, not even a DVD release yet. Why didn't they milk that more? Do you know anything about that, Chris?
I don't. I was fortunate enough to see a panel presentation with the actual puppets at Dragon Con, which was fantastic. They showed some behind the scenes videos and then actually had the puppets out. And it's really remarkable seeing it up close. I have no idea what the thinking is behind the decisions at Netflix, but I think it's very apparent. You kind of alluded to this earlier, Tom, that they, as long as it's on the platform, that's good enough. We have one season of this, good. It's never leaving the platform. You can rewatch it if you like, but there's not much of an incentive to go beyond 5 seasons of anything, right? Like,
yeah.
So yeah, it's unfortunate, but I don't know. You could probably burn your own Blu-rays if you want.
Well, and I think another thing is I'm not so sure if Netflix actually, they own probably the distribution of the first season, but I think Henson Company owns the actual show because they were trying to shop around a second season, I heard.
Yeah, it's always rights issues, and they sort of carve out areas of exclusivity. So I'm not privy to any of that, but
yeah, and I'm not so sure if Sony has any stake in that still or not, or what. But yeah, that's a very good question there. But yeah, I know Netflix has been really sketchy about releasing their stuff on DVD and Blu-ray as of late. They never used to be. Like, it used to be no problem. They get a lot of it out there, but lately it seems like it's kind of hit and miss. But
I've always wanted a good Punisher collection on Blu-ray.
That's the weird thing.
Punisher, never got it.
They did Daredevil and they did the other ones, but they didn't.
But they only did Daredevil up to season 2. They never did season
that's
3.
the weird thing I don't get. But yeah, but then again, Fox quit doing TV shows and Blu-rays altogether. They only do DVD now, or did up until Disney bought them. So it's hard to say, on that point. But Charles Burnett sent us a very generous $100 super chat. Says, keep up the fight, my brothers. Well, thank you so much, Charles. Any relation to Robert?
Yes, thank you so much, Charles. We really appreciate that. And generous super chats like that, absolutely, they do help fund that the fight goes on. So thank you.
And yeah, last night they were, oh God, you guys just made me feel so loved last night, guys. Thank you so much again for those who are here from the show last night who know what I'm talking about. Got lots of love from the chat. And then Dobbin comes in with $2 and says, saying there are no new stories, only new tellings. Well, that kind of goes along with the whole old saying, what, there's only 7 stories to tell or whatever. But I don't think that's so true, because Chris will tell you about a dozen independent films that you may have never heard of that are probably great stories that have never been told before. I think that's one thing that you're always talking about, Chris, is that, you know, there's a lot of stuff that just never gets any attention.
That's true. I mean, I hope it changes now as we see a lot of ideas that used to be sort of relegated to small indie movies now make their way into mainstream movies, and those ideas sort of wholly being rejected. You know, I think that shines a light on some indie movies that are worth seeing. You know, my personal favorite indie movie, one of my all-time favorites, is Slacker, the first one by Richard Linklater. I mean, that movie it's fantastic. It sort of breaks all the narrative storytelling rules. It's a day in the life of people in Austin, Texas. It's all sort of interweaving stories, and it's fantastic. So strongly recommend Slacker by.
Speaking of Kevin, that's what inspired him to do Clerks.
Exactly. So yeah, so I'd like to see more of that, and I'd like to see more. If you want to make something, find a way to make it. You know, people are talking about using Unreal Engine, you know, which is traditionally used for video games, using the Unreal Engine now for filmmaking. I mean, you could stage, you know, epic Lord of the Rings type battles in Unreal Engine and increase the resolution so that it could be used in film. So there's all sorts of possibilities for indies down the road, I think, to do things that are on an epic scale. I think it's a matter of also, like, there is sort of a thing of like, well, this movie's coming to the theater, this major studio is releasing it, so we all have to cover it. So all at once, all the people who do comments on you know, comment on pop culture and film on YouTube all talk about the same movie at the same time. And I would like to see if every YouTuber that comments on pop culture and movies all talked about one indie movie a week, just one, it would catapult that. I mean, I know for a fact that whenever the Red Letter Media guys, when they talk about some small indie movie, that just it has a huge impact on that film. And I think it would be great if there was just one, or even one a month. Just pick some small indie worth highlighting. And
Well,
everyone,
Maybe we should make Chris Recommends a weekly segment of one featured movie. I'm just like pitching it out here.
I could do. I mean, I do it on my own channel where I, you know, talk about. There's a movie I talked about this week that is so good. It's called Film Fest. That's just the name of the movie, Film Fest. In fact, the guy who wrote and directed the movie is doing a comedy with the Farrelly brothers. And I interviewed him. You can look it up on the Film Threat YouTube channel. I interviewed the director. So now his next movie is a big Farrelly brothers movie. This movie, Film Fest, makes fun of the entire festival world. It's like a spoof comedy on Film Fest. It makes fun of woke movies and virtue signaling. And it's hysterical. It's like, just having gone to film festivals for years, especially like small unknown festivals, I freaking love this movie. So one, my recommendation, go see the movie Film Fest. And then two, watch my interview with the director on the Film Threat YouTube channel, because his next movie is a big Farrelly Brothers movie that's apparently shooting in Washington, D.C. right now. So I'm really curious about what it's about. But he's like, this guy gives no fucks. Because I asked him, I'm like, well, what about like comedy, like, is kind of dying because, you know, woke culture won't allow things that were traditionally funny to be funny. And he's like, I don't care. We're just doing it. We don't give a shit. There's an audience that's out there for that. And I think that more people need to give fewer fucks. And so
I can get behind that.
Apologies for the language, but
don't apologize.
That would be a movie that, like, if you all watched it, oh my God, it's freaking hysterical. It doesn't care. It's just a good movie. And it's so funny that it's almost like Hollywood and indie film have reversed, because I've been going to Sundance since the 90s and these small film festivals. And there would be like these very small indie movies that I know don't appeal to a lot of people, and the themes, because of the themes woven into the film. That's why it's like this sort of creeping, woke stuff that sort of creeped into mainstream Hollywood stuff. Just, I didn't really notice it as much because it's like, oh, I've been seeing movies like that for years, but they're relegated to smaller audiences. That's because the audience for those messages it's a small audience, right? But now you're seeing this stuff leak into mainstream Hollywood, and people they're not down for it. You know what I mean? It doesn't work. It doesn't work because it doesn't have mainstream or mass appeal to traditional audiences, right? So I don't know, but now I think I'm seeing the reverse, where it's like you're seeing indie movies kind of do what Hollywood used to do because Hollywood's not doing it. And Film Fest is an example of that. So check that out.
All right.
You can find Film Fest. I have an app on my phone that will tell you, it'll just tell you where to find anything. It's called Just Watch. So download this app. It's called Just Watch. You put in any movie and it tells you where you can see it. So like if you want to know if a movie's on Netflix, right? If you have Netflix, you can look it up on Just Watch. So I can go to Just Watch right now, and I just look up.
I'm sorry, it's called Film Fest or Film Festival?
Film Fest. Just Film Fest. So I'm looking up they're looking up Film Fest. It is on Vudu. It's on Tubi with ads. You can see it on Tubi with ads. It's on IMDb TV. You can buy it on Amazon for $4.99. The other good thing about this Just Watch app is that it'll tell you how much it costs on different services. So like it on Just Watch, if you look up Film Fest, you can get it for $4.99 on Amazon Prime, or you can get it for $3.99 on YouTube. So you can find out where, if it's a streaming service you already subscribe to, how to see it, or if you need to buy it, the least expensive option. So Just Watch is the app. And now I'm recommending apps.
And now it's apps and movies.
Yeah, there you go.
Chris recommends. I love it. All right. So we got some more super chats here. We got Mr. Where were we? Oh, yeah. Mr. Tickle Trunk, who says, a lot of us also suffer from bandwidth anxiety. There's so much good stuff in so few hours in the day. If I had the time, I'd rant into a camera. Yeah, I have the same issue, Mr. Tickle Trunk, just trying to find time to juggle everything as well. So I hear you. That is always a struggle. And that's the other problem too, is especially like, Chris, like I used to watch a lot of the independent stuff, and, I keep up with it as much as I could, but then it just started getting buried in all the other streaming stuff. So I'm glad that you recommended that app. I'm gonna have to check into that.
Yeah. Just Watch, get the app. Before I watch, if there's a movie I want to see, I just look it up and it's like, oh, I have that streaming service, that movie's on that, or here's where I can buy it the cheapest. It's very useful.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I've rediscovered a movie. It's like, oh yeah, I wanted to see that, and it was like 3 years ago, and I forgot all about it.
Yeah.
And then Dash D says, do you guys think maybe the old theater format of acts with intermissions would work for movies, kind of like binge watching in the theater? Yeah, you talked about that a little bit earlier, Chris. Honestly, I'm not so sure that the theaters would allow it just because they don't get enough screenings in them. But what do you think? I think the multiplex model has taken over too much.
Yeah, it's I don't know that would really work. But I'd like to see, as James Cameron suggested, look, if I'm going to give you a 3-hour movie, there'll be an overture and an intermission, and maybe it should cost a little more, like a premium price. I mean, I would have paid extra to see Justice League in the theater, but you're going to have to give me an intermission. You're going to have to give me a break to hit the bathroom and maybe grab another box of popcorn, whatever. I think they gotta work out the pricing. First of all, I just want movie theaters to survive. And Shang-Chi, whatever you think of it, the box office success tells me people want to go back to the movies. They just want to go back to the movies. And so the more, so it's encouraging.
I've said it several times on different shows on After Dark with Tom.
Yeah.
I have a 1500 watt sound system. I got an 84-inch TV. I got a real comfy sofa, Tempur-Pedic. I mean, I cannot replace the experience of seeing something in the cinema. And of course, there's some challenges. Sometimes you got a screaming, kid, and here and there once in a blue moon. But man, I'll tell you, after not having gone from the end of January of 2020, and then I just started going again a month ago. And I'm not going to stop going. I mean, whatever. We don't have any restrictions here in South Carolina where I'm at, but even if we did, I'd still whatever. I mean, my phone's turned off, Chris. My popcorn tastes better. I don't know, because they got the butter and the salt, and there's something about just getting out and some fresh air, and and then I actually had one movie. I started talking to somebody, and now it's someone I know. He owns a cigar shop. I frequent a cigar shop now, and I enjoy it thoroughly, and I have all of the streaming services. I have all the bells and whistles for my home theater, but I don't want to give it up. I don't. And guess what, Chris? I even saw they even had Tom and Jerry before one. I just went. They had Bugs Bunny and the Martian one the other day. So
yeah, it's I just look. I think the theatrical experience needs to be preserved, and I'm hoping that Shang-Chi is a sign that movie theaters are back and that the industry can recover in the next couple of years. The next challenge is going to be keeping people in the theaters. And that's where I think the direction that we see Marvel going, I think is going to be to its detriment, because I just think in the long term, it's going to be a detriment. So we'll see. We'll see.
All right. And then we have, let's see, we got we got that one from Mr. Tickle Trunk. We got that from Joe Biden. Thank you again, Mr. President. Deadeye Max says with $5, always love when Chris is on. Well, thank you, Deadeye Max. We love to have Chris on. He's one of our favorite guests.
Thank you.
And he always recommends great films, and he's always good for conversation, because here we've been talking for almost 2 hours, and it feels like minutes. Yeah. I love it when Chris is on. Yeah, I bug this man constantly.
Only because I yell a lot. That's so. My apologies for that. But
no, I probably pester the shit out of you because I bother you almost every other day. But
no, I love it. I love it. It's cool. It's fine. I'm just not on Twitter all that much.
I know.
Twitter to kind of go, okay, is the world ending?
And I have your phone number too. I don't know why I just don't text you.
Hey, you can just whatever. It's all good.
What's the name of that app again, Chris? I can't find it.
It's called Just Watch.
Is it spelled funny or anything?
For the iPhone.
Oh, it's 2 words. I found it. Got it.
Yeah, Just Watch. And great app. So we discovered that you can watch Film Fest on Tubi for free just with ads.
And speaking of I was going to say, speaking of the president, though, he also pointed out that he sent us a little money from the taxpayers by sending us another $5. So there you go.
Sure.
So thank you for that, Mr. President and the taxpayers. Echo Base Network chimes in, says, good afternoon, gentlemen. Well, hello, Nick. How you doing? Hope you're having a good day. Jeff C. sends in $5, says, hi, Chris. Would love to see a show with you, Cameron Pasha, and Robert Burnett someday. I have been wanting to do this Avengers podcast with you and Robert and Cameron for I don't know how long now. I'm talking about it. Someday I will try to make it happen, but I'm right there with you, Jeff C. Someday we'll get those minds to meet.
It's so funny because Rob lives down the street from me.
You all actually are pretty close.
We're both in Pasadena, California, right? He is 2 miles from where I live, right? And the Film Courage people live right blocks from where Rob lives. We're all in the same area, and yet we're never together. I think it's because every time I see Rob, he's on YouTube. He's not out and about. I like to go out. What's so funny is I'll go out, but then I'm watching or listening to YouTube on my AirPods while I'm out and about.
Well,
right?
we joked with him about you coming and just knocking on his garage door or whatever when he's streaming and just showing up.
While he's in the middle of a stream. That would be hysterical.
Yeah, I think he would love it.
Yeah, well, I know exactly where he lives, so
that's what he said. He's like, "Oh, he knows where I live."
Oh my god! I would never. That would be too rude to just drop by. But
I bet you. I mean, if you gave him a little heads up, I'm sure he would still love the surprise, though.
Yeah, that would be pretty hilarious. But yeah,
I've been wanting to get you guys together for a while, for sure.
We should. That would be fun. So
I was thinking you, Script Doctor, Cameron, and Robert Meyer Burnett all together. That's like an Avengers podcast and a half. That's like an Avengers Infinity War podcast.
Yeah.
Craziness.
I'm up for it.
Awesome. Well, I'll make it happen sooner than later. I will make it happen. I promise you that, Jeff C. Joe Pat 87 sends in $4.99. Says, at last, someone who knows what conversation actually means. Chris, you are the iconoclast we need. I agree. 110% with that. Grand Wazoo sends in some fancy 10 euros. Thank you so much. Says, with guests like Chris, all I can say is take my money. And we're glad to have Chris, man. So we're glad to have you here as well, Grand Wazoo, so you can hear Chris talk to us today. We always love to have Chris here. Dash D says, I'm Canadian with $5 Canadian. We deal with living dead daily. We call it Parliament. Zing. Then we have Mags who's sending $5. Hopefully she's still here. I know she had to run. Says, more Chris Gore rants, please. Well, we'll do our best.
Thank you.
Dash D says, I'm Canadian with $5 Canadian. We deal with, we got that twice. Never mind. Sorry. Same one over. And then Deranged Lunatic, we did grab that one, but he also, just to point it out again with $1.99, said, I enjoyed watching you on Attack of the Show. Yes, that was how I became, I believe that's the first time I was introduced to Chris, if I remember correctly, but you always seem to pop up like everywhere. Like that's how I knew you and Robert. Was like, I know you guys from every documentary, behind the scenes thing, and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. So I love it. Then we got Mr. Tickle Trunk, who sent in another $2 from Canada and says, rant.
Thank you.
Mr. Tickle Trunk, who is also one of our wrenches. Thank you so much. Jesus Davila says, with $5, Chris, what wholesome movie that brought you to tears would you recommend? So, well, let's go with something maybe more recent. Or has a movie ever really brought you to tears?
I wasn't brought to tears, but I definitely got choked up. And you might be surprised by this. The movie was Free Guy.
There you go. Free Guy.
And I hope this isn't a spoiler, but it really, at its heart, is a love story. And first of all, I got choked up, and I think it's because I feel like what's missing in movies today, and it's unfortunate that this even needs to be said aloud, is romance. And what I mean is traditional romance. A man and a woman who have feelings for each other. And I feel like that story, it's just not, I guess that's not the agenda that's being pushed now. Not that was ever an agenda that needed to be pushed, because we have our biologies, and I understand that people are different, so they may not feel that way necessarily, but I feel like that image has been diminished on screen. I mean, when you look at Shang-Chi, even, I'm like, is he going to be romantic with Awkwafina? It's like, no, they've been friends for 10 years. They've been friends for 10 years?
And have breakfast every morning and party until the wee hours and get drunk and obliterated and still nothing happens. I don't know. That hasn't been my life and experience.
I was going to say, like,
the perfect platonic relationship. I know there are some guys that like try to tell themselves and everyone else, no, we're just friends. Those guys are just biding their time. They have a long-term plan there.
Eddie Murphy said this back in the 80s.
Yeah. I'm just surprised that, like, Shang-Chi, they didn't, like, so, I mean, the same thing happened with Rey and Finn in Force Awakens. Yet another reason to dislike that movie, which I'm sure I could do a whole video that, 100 reasons why The Force Awakens sucks. But it's a little late. But I don't understand, like, the lack of, like, romance is sort of part of the mix of things. It's like comedy and action, adventure, somber moments, and romance. I mean, Star Wars, the original Star Wars, is very romantic. This farm boy fell in love with the image of
Dracula
as a hologram.
Right.
He sees this hologram image and fell in love with it. Who is she? She's beautiful, right? Okay, later finds out it's his sister 2 movies later, but still, exactly. But still, like, it's romantic. And I think that's what surprised me. Like, wait a sec, The Force Awakens, there's no romance. There's no romantically entangled characters or even a romantic triangle, like, in The Empire Strikes Back, like, whatever. Like, it's just, I mean.
I hear you, brother. We Latinos, we look for love everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, where is it? It's like a profound lack of passion. It's passionless. And I feel like, you know, I don't know who is pulling the strings, either saying to not include that or what, and what the point of that is. To me, it just seemed, I mean, it may be, you know what, some things that are cliche kind of work, like male Marvel characters taking their shirts off. No one complains about that, right? It's like, and I think even the actors doing that are like, hell yeah, I want to show off my new Marvel bod. I mean, Kumail Nanjiani, his movies, you know, The Eternals is not even out yet. He's posting photos of himself like, look at my new jacked body, courtesy of steroids. But you know, but like, this is Shang-Chi, like, where's the romance? If anything, maybe that's why the story, and I hope this isn't too spoilery, but you know, the story, Shang-Chi's father, his story is, the story of his parents is more interesting. They have this beautiful romance where they both kind of set aside their past lives to create a new life together. Things don't go as planned, but it's a beautiful story. It's not the story of Shang-Chi necessarily, but the story of his parents is, you know, romantic. I'm just surprised, this whole thing of like, so Marvel's Katie and Shang-Chi are like, they're friends. I mean, I don't know.
We could go.
Friends.
I've been saying the whole time that the best part of the Shang-Chi movie was the Fu Manchu origin story.
Yeah.
But before you go, we have a few more super chats to run through that are directed to you.
Oh, thanks.
And Chris also recommended Free Guy. So Chris recommends
Free Guy
movies that weren't. Go ahead. Sorry.
Free Guy was so good. I'm seeing it again today. I'm gonna go see it.
I enjoyed it thoroughly.
There's 2 movies that aren't documentaries today already.
Yeah, I know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. What else do we have here? We had that one. Okay. Michael Storm. We'll get back to that one. Let me see here. Sandra Hammerslag sent us in €4 with a cup of coffee. Super sticker. Thank you so much. Naked Fame said Mexican Iron Man rabbit chicken tacos. Sonic Hog sent in $5 and says, Chris, your comparison between the deaths of Spock and Solo is masterful. It really does seem like modern filmmakers don't respect the source or fans. Yeah, what Sonic Hog is talking about is your video where you discussed how, you know, they basically fucked up the death of Han Solo, and you compared it to how beautiful or, you know, tragic it was in Wrath of Khan when Spock died. It was a great video.
Well, when you compare those deaths, these are 2 iconic characters that have, you know, they're iconic in the sense that, like, the character kind of outlived the shows, right? Like the character of Han Solo outlived the original trilogy movies, you know, being in comics and, you know, and in all sorts of other forms, right? I mean, that as a character, same thing with Spock, right? Like, and the way that Spock's death was handled was just so perfect. I guess my point is that the death of an iconic character is not about the character, but about the people that love that character reacting to it. There we are. All of us together. That's awesome. But yeah, so I'm just surprised. Like, I like the fact that first of all, you know, obviously I don't make big budget studio movies, but that I'm having these thoughts, you know, I'm not saying I could do Kathleen Kennedy's job any better, but there should be someone on her team that thinks about these things. And I'm really disheartened that whatever the story group is, they're not thinking in the way that we're thinking. I don't think that there is enough true fan representation on this story group. And I think that the things that they think are important are not necessarily yes, they're important, but other things are also important. And I think that those are being paid more attention to than the simple, like, let's handle Han Solo's death correctly. I mean, it was so weird because you're watching the movie. It's like, okay, we know he's going to die. Why are you dragging this out? We all kind of knew it, right? The way that scene was set up, and it was just done in such a terrible way. It's, and you're you know,
yeah, it's frustrating, but we have to move on. While we still have you.
Yeah, we got a couple.
Next one is from Echo Base Network, who says for $9.99. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah. Everyone, go check out Echo Base Network. Great channel. And they say, Chris, Thoughts on Campia? You know him as well. Loved your reviews on G4 TV. I missed those days and hated when it all shut down. Also, what's your favorite memories from the G4 days? So, to summarize question, thoughts on Campia and favorite memories from G4 days.
Well, let's start with the favorite memories from G4 days was, I guess, just like I'd always do a review, and then after I would get shit in the chat on there, and then I would chime in, and then it was just a lot of fun. Like, look, I know that like I made it was horrible for me because I would be on for like 5 minutes and I might have made some factual error or misspoke, and I was just like, it would just crush me. But like going into the chat after on g4tv.com was just like, you know, all this great support. And I used to do this thing where I had like these cards on the show where I would be like reading off my notes. I would take notes and I would mail those cards to people after. So there's a bunch of those that were sent out. So, and also, by the way, I am not the father of Olivia Munn's child. I just want to put that out there. I know that she was on Twitter. This is breaking news. I have no.
I'm sorry.
I have no,
No.
I haven't spoken to Olivia in years, and I am not the father. So as for Campia, you know, he would have me on the Collider Hero show, actually with John Schnepp, and I got to know John Campia. I'm actually in his documentary called Trailers, A Love Story. John is a wildly successful YouTuber that gets invited to major premieres, and I am not wildly successful, and I do not get invited to major premieres. But you know, look, I respect John as a YouTuber and a broadcaster. I think his opinions are all, in, you know, my take on his opinions is they're always very safe. I think he's a good gauge of what normal people think about something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. John it's like this is the voice of normies, right? But I don't think he doesn't take particularly controversial stands on much of anything. So I don't find his YouTube videos particularly challenging. He's good when it comes to news, but I respect him as a broadcaster. I mean, that guy can get on for 3 hours and talk about nothing and makes it, you know, feel like this is the most compelling, important thing that you need to be listening to right now. So I have a lot of respect for Campia and what he has built. And I, you know, so there you go. There you go. I freak out. Oh my God.
Doug is on fire this morning.
That's hilarious. I appreciate
Douglas Nelson again with another victory lap.
That's funny. But yeah, so a lot of respect for him, but his opinions I think are pretty mainstream, you know.
Yeah. Your Muslim uncle sent in $1.99 and says, Michigander, show me on your hand where you lived.
Exactly. I grew up in Royal Oak, Michigan. So like down like just under the thumb, so to speak, mid thumb. Does that make sense? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have Melvin Belliard, who says for $20. Thank you so much, Melvin. Good afternoon, Midnight's Edge crew. It is truly an honor and a privilege to listen to the great Chris Gore. But damn it, Tom, you have all these new buttons for Mr. Gore. He makes a movie recommendation, and you don't use that button. Well, he's been using it 20 since then.
Yeah, well, he sent in another one afterward for $2. Says, sorry about that. My stream was behind.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
I gotta wait till he's done recommending too.
Yeah,
I'm sitting there with my finger over the button, but yeah.
Yeah, and then Six said for $5, happy late birthday, Chris.
Yeah. Oh,
would love to see you on Meet with Script Doctor. Yeah,
we should do that.
Would love that. Yeah.
Yeah, Meet is the sister channel to Midnight's Edge. That's where I do the streams a little later in the evening, afternoon time. On Tuesdays and Thursdays. So yeah, if you're ever not busy then, let me know. And then Charles Burnett, of course, sent in that very generous $100 super chat and said, keep up the fight, my brothers. Thank you again for that. Then what was the next one for Chris?
Next one for Chris is Deranged Lunatic, who says for $1.99, Chris, what was the name of the movie you recommended?
Oh, well, I think there's two that I recommended today that are indie films. One is called Laddie, Laddie, and it's about Alan Ladd Jr., who greenlit Star Wars. And you'll see he's an example of a type of studio executive that understood creativity. And I think that there is a profound lack of that. So yeah, I did not go to Dondero. I went to Kimball High School, which no longer exists. So they combined Dondero and Kimball into one high school called Royal Oak High School, I believe. I was just back there recently. But yeah, I celebrated my birthday on Sunday by going to see John Williams at the Hollywood Bowl, which was fantastic. So Laddie was the documentary I recommended. Then I recommended a movie called Film Fest, which if you look on the app Just Watch, you'll see where it is. You can see it on Tubi actually for free with ads. So it's called Film Fest, and it is not woke. And the director is making a movie, a comedy with the Farrelly brothers, and he gives no fucks. So actually, Film Courage is not my channel. That's actually Film Courage's channel. But I appear on Film Courage on occasion. So thank you, Mr. Tickle Trunk.
Yeah.
I have my own channel, which is Film Threat.
Film Threat, yes.
Just look up Film Threat, and you'll see I interview. I do a podcast where I interview indie filmmakers. I interview like 2 or 3 filmmakers a week on that channel. It's just movies that interest me. I mean, they're all across the gamut, documentaries and whatnot. So that's what I do. Yeah, but I got to run, guys. Is there anything else? And I want to.
We just caught up. We just caught up with all the latest super chats. We had to run through the end. We have more super chats. We're going to go through all of the remaining ones afterwards. We had to do the Chris ones first. Chris, it's been a blast having you here today. Sorry, I was only able to join so late.
Well, thank you, Isabella Live at 2.0. And Detroit, Darius Munchausen, thank you. Yes. I'm Motor City. Yes, the Film Threat. Awesome. Thank you, Six. Yeah, check out the interviews I do with filmmakers there. It's really sort of like, are you interested in the topic? But it's like one of the things I love is just to talk to filmmakers. What is the process? How do you do it? I'm trying to break it down as a way to inspire people to make their own movies. And that's kind of what I've done forever. But I want to thank you, Andre and Tom, for inviting me and allowing me an opportunity to talk to your audience. And Mike, Mexican Iron Man, thank you. That story you told about Motu is just so heartfelt, and I appreciate you sharing that with us and just being a part of this conversation. And thank you to everyone in the chat and everyone who threw a super chat to support the channel. Just thank you so much for allowing me a chance to rant, to use expletives, and to talk about things that continue to annoy me about this industry.
And for more Chris Gore, we could go over to his channel, go sub to his channel. I've been doing deep dives on his
the
videos.
link there is in the description, of course, as is his Twitter, and there you'll also find Film Courage, where he frequently appears.
Yes.
Yeah. And as you know, the door is always open, Chris. Even if we're not streaming, you want to stream, you just say, hey, I want to talk about something. I will set up a stream for you, sir. So
all right.
You know how that goes.
Awesome.
Take care, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you all. Take care, everybody. I appreciate it. I'll be back.
Bye. Thank you.
All right. Later.
Take care.
Take care.
Thanks.
All right. And with that, let's get back into some of these classic super chats that
I hope you have the overview, Tom.
I have an overview of the ones up to a point. I have, let's see here, where did we
They're all in the
Injustice trailer was the one that I think we have to go back to first, if I'm not mistaken.
I definitely put them all in the private chat.
Yes, you did. And thank you for that, Mike. We got that one. We got that one, I believe we did. Yes. And then where did it go here? Because I backed all the way up. Okay, because I had not seen the Injustice trailer yet, but that was the one I believe we left off on that we had to go back to. Where did it go?
Is that the one where we left?
Michael Storm?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
That's BGN. What is that? BGN. Is that Belgian?
It's Bulgarian. Bulgarian Levs.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for 2 Bulgarian Levs. Did you guys see the Injustice trailer? No, I have not. Have you seen it?
Is it animated Justice? Injustice?
Yes.
Oh wow! I hope it's good. No, I haven't seen that trailer yet. Well, it dropped 2 hours ago.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet
Okay.
either.
Okay, well,
Yeah, it's only a minute long.
get back to you as soon as we get the opportunity to do so. But that's one.
Oh, it's rated R. That's a plug.
I'm one of the the injustice storylines in the comics. Like, I haven't played the game, but that injustice storyline in the comics, that's one of the best DC comics ever.
I have played the hell out of that game.
They should have done that on film.
I played the hell out of the games.
So yeah,
it looks decent enough.
Yeah, I look forward to checking that out and reporting back to you on
rated
that.
R.
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
There you go. So yeah, we'll definitely get back to you on that. Otherwise, I just kind of quickly skimmed through it, and it looks all right for the straight to video animations, which generally Warner Brothers does a pretty good job on. So
yeah, generally.
And then we got the Sander Hammerslag cup of coffee. Thanks for that. We got the Naked Fame chicken taco or rabbit chicken tacos. Is that the special tomorrow on Midnight Switch After Dark, Mike?
Well, if we have any, we're selling out this morning of the rabbit chicken virtual tacos fast. They're going fast, everybody. Get yours now.
Right.
Can I have that with a side order of pork? Because there's no animal on the planet
we have barbecue pulled pork
that I want to eat as much as a pork. They look absolutely succulent.
We have barbecue pulled pork and we have plain pulled pork. That's your choice. Mute Gamer sends in $5 for his pulled pork sandwich. Says beat thing. I think he means bad thing about Trek Day is that GOG is releasing 6 classic PC games for $10 each, with Armada game coming later this year. Oh, best thing, not bad thing. There we go. Best thing makes more sense. So there you go. If you're a classic Trek gamer, Mute Gamer just let you know that they've got 6 classic games for $10 each. There you go. On GOG. So there.
Okay, cool. Very cool.
We got the Echo Base Network, and then Shoom comes in with $5 and said the best Fantastic Four movie was The Incredibles. Well,
yes,
I don't think you're going to get any arguments there, but when it comes to actual quote unquote Fantastic Four, like, yeah, the actual Fantastic Four, that's just a common thing we go to all the time. Is really, even for all its faults, that for some reason that Roger Corman one is the one that's closest to the comics as far as I'm concerned, even in the worst shape that it's in.
Yeah, that's the sad story of all the later adaptations. Roger Corman did it first, and while absolutely everyone with ease should have been able to do better, no one did.
He even went so far as to have a character like Mole Man who wasn't Mole Man, just so you had a, you know, like what I mean? Like, at least they made that effort even. But anyway, like, I don't know. I like it. It's out there on YouTube. You can see it, kids. I've thought about finishing the audio on it someday to see if that helped it at all, but that's just too much of an endeavor for me to undertake. Anyway, we had Naked Fame come in with, I'm thinking about going to see Free Guy today, but I haven't been following reviews. What do you guys think? Well, you got a recommendation from Mr. Gore.
Yeah, you did. He loved it. He's going to see it again over the next few hours. So it has to be good.
There you go. And then Naked
Can't
Fame
imagine otherwise.
Came in with another $5. Said Kevin Smith became so woke he makes Kevin Spacey look like Kevin Nash. There we go again. He knows I like that one. He said that the other night too. On Toxic Femme. That's good. Melvin Belliard. I think we got that one right. Yep, we did. But he had another one. We got that one as well. 6 got that one. Thank you so much again. Charles Burnett. Again, thank you for that generous super chat. Galaxy Express Media sent in $20. Says Netflix needs to keep subscriptions. Or subscribers, I should say, probably. Which is why physical media seems to have stopped. They can control the product and keep subscribers that way to watch their shows. Physical media could lead to a drop in subscribers. You are not wrong, Galaxy Media.
Except for one tiny little thing. You know what would have made perfect sense? And that would be to release all the Marvel Netflix shows on DVD and Blu-ray because they only released up to a certain point. Like, for instance, for Daredevil, they released up to season 2, but they did not release The Defenders. They did not release Daredevil season 3. They released none of the seasons of The Punisher, nor Iron Fist, but honestly, who the hell cares? Or Luke Cage for that matter. But like those things there, just now as Marvel are getting them back, it would have made perfect sense for Netflix to release them then, at the last moment when they possibly could exploit them in any way, and they didn't.
Then again, the question is it up to Netflix?
Yeah, that's true. That's actually a point. But I would imagine that as distributor, they have significant powers there, because
maybe that's what I was
always
insinuating. Is it could be, it's maybe up to both of them there. They have to have the say of both Marvel and Netflix on it. It's hard to say.
Could be, but still, I would be a little bit surprised if they if Marvel had that much to say. Usually, that's the call of the distributor. But
there was basically a point there where, they did kind of stop doing that. Like, and it was even similar with like because I think Cobra Kai was up to Sony, but for some reason in the US they only released it on DVD and not Blu-ray. But like in other countries you can import the Blu-ray from there, but like it's really weird. So it's all hard to say on who owns the distribution on as far as home. I'm sure that all goes into the contracts, and it's all different depending on the show and who owns what. So but yeah, it makes no sense for them to release it on video, because then it just eats into their subscribers. So that is a good point. On top of that, Folkenstall sends in 10 Swiss francs, I believe that is. Thank you so much.
That is correct.
Says, I wish someone would do a weekly feature with indie comics, graphic novels. Small creators would be happy, I'm sure. I mean, I have had some independent comic creators on here, and I mean, there's so many great channels that already do that. But I mean, I'm not against it.
Well, Mandy right now is hosting.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mandy.
I mean, Mandy, who's on staff with Midnight's Edge, and she's on Toxic Femininity. She has that for her Friday show. I mean, I am a huge purchaser of indie comics. I have a huge collection right now, and I rely on Mandy from Midnight's Edge and her show to kind of guide and lead the way of different creators and she does that every Friday. So go check out her channel, and she's on Monday night, Midnight's Edge, Toxic Femininity, and I think she has an incredibly good eye for various kinds of comics and various genres.
And I'm so sad that we missed this one from Deranged Lunatic while Chris was here. Deranged Lunatic says, Chris, what was the name of the movie? The name of the movie? Oh, we got that one. Never mind.
Yeah, we did get that one.
Yeah, we did get that one. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
MJ1 Media, how you doing? Jeff says, with $2, Injustice should have been a Batman. Should have had Batman bad, Justice League good twist. Not sure I see that. Because like the whole point of having Superman be the bad guy is that he is like the ultimate superhero, and it takes the entire Justice League to take him down. And I don't know. I mean, I guess without any.
Well, that's kind of exactly it, though, isn't it? I mean, like in Batman v Superman, when Batman said, if there's even a 1% chance that he can go bad, like, we have to stop him down.
Yeah.
And what was that movie that James Gunn produced? The one with the kid, the one where you basically have like the Superman legend, but the kid is evil.
Burn. Is that what it is?
Yes, Burn something.
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, that's what it's called.
Burn? Okay, yeah. I mean, that only shows like the planet is like completely doomed with that kid who's like an evil Superman. So of course it has to be him, because okay, fine. So you have like if Batman goes evil, you know what he is? He's just another super villain. Superman goes evil. He's a dictator that will rule the entire freaking planet. That's a difference.
Yeah.
That's why it has to be him.
But I don't disagree with Robert Hammer. It has been a bit of an overused trope.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, to me it felt like that. If that was I felt like that was what they were trying to do with the Snyderverse, and they just kind of lost sight of that, trying to cram in all this other shit. But that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, that's a direction they could and should have gone, but yeah, that's not get into that tragic opportunity.
And it was Mike
wasted.
Gunn, not James Gunn.
Yeah, but then Jeff chimed in too about how it's always usually Superman versus instead of Batman being the bad guy. That's the thing, is it's really tough to make Batman any kind of a bad guy in any way, because he's the only member of the Justice League really that's human as far as the main crew, right? Like he's the only one who's doesn't have superpowers and stuff like that. So it's very bad, or it's very hard to just make him a bad guy up against all these
he's not exactly the good guy either. I mean, that's the whole point.
That's the thing. He's kind of like on his own in a way. Yeah, in a weird way.
I mean, there is no Batman if he's not partially mental, and he's mental.
Well, that's what I love about the whole. There's this great documentary. I think it's on the Dark Knight Blu-ray, where it goes into the psyche of all Batman's villains, and then it talks even about how Bruce Wayne / Batman himself is just as insane as all his villains.
Yep.
Basically. I love that documentary. It's great. And it basically diagnoses all the villains. It's awesome. Dash D says, with Canadian $5, Andre, I'm not sure. You should be pulling your porg online. Don't be tubing.
Yeah, well, no comment.
Yeah, and then Peter Glaskowski brings up here, like, yeah, isn't Homelander the bad Superman? That's the thing, is it is kind of an overused trope. You even have, to a point, Dr. Manhattan, who's not so much a bad Superman, but he's what do you call that? Kind of a anti-Superman in a weird way, I guess, for lack of a better term. Yeah, like Jesse says, fuck that. Batman has a file on every single one of those guys, including how to kill him. Exactly. Like I said, he is kind of on his own. Like that's what I was getting at. Like, yeah, he works with him once in a while, but that's kind of usually the point of a lot of those when they joke to him, is because he's always kind of doing his own thing. He's always a step ahead of everybody else, no matter what. He's like Kevin McAllister. Sander Hammerslag sends in €5. Thank you so much. Says, fun fact, the 55th anniversary of Star Trek was September 6th. It aired 2 days earlier on Canadian CTV. Yeah, I saw that. A bunch of our Canadian friends were posting that the other day on Twitter and other places. But yeah, it's kind of a bittersweet anniversary for Star Trek in a lot of ways. How have you been celebrating, Andre, at all? Is it even registered to you?
That hasn't even registered. I was like thinking, 55th crap. We should have had like a retrospective or something ready for it. But
I know
I don't care anymore. Like it's really horrible to say, but
but I don't care about.
It hurts me to hear you say that, Andre. You know what I mean? It just I can't argue with you. Here's what I was doing.
You can't argue.
Let me tell you what I was doing leading up to today. I've been watching every night before I go to bed. I've been watching one Star Trek original series episode. Last night I saw the one where Spock gets hit with the spores, and and the blonde chick is all in love with him and stuff. And every night I've been watching one now. 6 days a week before I go to bed. I've been watching one for. I'd say I'm on C, and then I restarted. so I've been watching a ton of Star Trek lately because I didn't want this day to come and me to be in a bad mood. So I've been trying to remember the good old days and watch it. So that and one or two anime movies a week I've been doing, along with going to the movies 1 or 2 times a week. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah, I watched. I got pissed. This is a typical. What is it with me? Like Andre will sooner or later. One of these days, I'm just waiting for him to go. Is it just me, or you have the world's worst luck? Because everything I do seems to work out wrong. I didn't get my Dune 4K. They sent me the wrong fucking. They sent me the regular Blu-ray instead of the fucking 4K Blu-ray. And then this week, for some reason, Amazon hadn't shipped out my fucking Star Trek 4K Blu-rays yet. So I'm like, fuck it. So last night I went and I ordered it from Best Buy. That's getting shipped today, so I'm gonna go cancel my Amazon one. But I'm like, I was so pissed because I wanted to watch Star Trek: The Motion Picture. So I actually just bought it in digital for $10 or whatever. And it just watching that movie, it took me back. It was like, it felt like Star Trek again. I'm like, oh, this is what I miss. This is what I want. Even though most people don't like the motion picture.
I love the motion picture.
I love it.
I love the motion picture.
And in 4K, it looks
the director's cut version of it, to be clear.
Now I do see the color timing bits and problems that R&B is talking about, though. There is a problem with that.
Yeah,
It
well,
isn't
here's
as
the
bad as
thing.
he was kind of making it seem, but it is bad.
Are we talking about like a remastered director's cut version here now?
No, that's
or?
not coming out for a few months yet.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And that I
So,
don't know when that's
which
coming
version is it
Blu-ray.
that you're referring to? The
I'm talking about the
theatrical?
theatrical cut.
Oh,
What
screw
they
that one.
did, well, it's still watchable. I don't give a shit. Like, it's Star Trek to me. My only problem with it is the same thing that Robert Meyer Burnett said. They've got too much. They got it cranked too far to the blue through most of the movie, except for the scene on Vulcan, which is cranked too far to the red, to the point where it's actually like distracting in some spots. But other than that, even the regular theatrical version holds up in my opinion. I don't care. It's still pretty good. I do prefer the director's cut, Andre, which we are getting, but you should know this already. You must be out of the Star Trek loop. That's their next.
Completely, yeah.
That's Paramount Plus's next big move. Is they're using the director's cut to push Paramount Plus next year.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So you're not gonna be able to get it on Blu-ray for a while. Probably it won't come out probably till about 6-7 months or whatever after it's on Paramount Plus. But they are remastering it in 4K. That is being done. So as we speak.
Yeah, so then we get better than the fan reconstruction in 1080p.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there you go. That is coming. So they're at least finally breaking down and giving us what we want as fans. That part that's where I said it's bittersweet, because we don't have any new real good Trek to go on. Oh, I got a hell of a deal on Enterprise. I got the entire series for $35 on Blu-ray. So right now on Amazon, before they sell out, guys, go grab them.
And Enterprise really ain't that bad. I mean,
no, I love the first two.
I like Enterprise. And like season 3 and season 4 of Enterprise, like some of that stuff is really,
that's what
really
everybody
good.
says, and I've never finished it. I've seen the first 2 seasons.
And that we did not get season 5. That's one of the biggest crimes in TV history. So I will never ever forgive Les Moonves for that, because he's the one who killed it.
I never loved Vulcans as much as I love Vulcans after Star Trek Enterprise. I'll tell you that.
No, of course not. T'Pol did that. I mean, she'd even give like some love for Romulans, because, as would be revealed in season 5, she was half Romulan. That's why she was like more interested in exploring emotions and stuff, like a little bit more passionate, like the Romulans.
And yes, I did say 4K. I'll tell you what, though, even though it was through streaming, the sound on that was good. I don't know what Culture's talking about. The sound editing, even on the theatrical cut, is great by my. Well, that is the remixed version, but still, it's true to the original sound mix. So, I mean, I don't know. Other than that, that's my only complaints was just the color timing. I mean, it still holds up. I don't care. That's what I did to celebrate. I watched Star Trek: The Motion Picture, and then I watched Dead and Buried. And that was pretty fucked up. And that goes back to a super chat we had earlier, where can you watch a movie where you're not just watching it with your critic brain? Yes, I had to watch Dead and Buried, because it's a dumb fucking movie. But if you turn your brain off for 90 minutes and watch that movie, it is exquisite, fun B-movie type shit. So,
which movie was this?
Dead and Buried.
Okay.
It's an early 81, I think it came out. Yeah, see, Lindsay knows what I'm talking about. I knew she would. It's got the guy who plays Charlie's grandpa is one of the main stars. I can't think of his name now. And it's got a young Robert Englund in it, and it's kind of a zombie movie, but it's weird. I don't want to give too much of away, because I knew nothing about it going into it, and going into it got sucked me in, but then by the end I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. It's just one of those movies. It was kind of like a Stephen King movie that wasn't a Stephen King movie. It's weird. But Blue Underground released it in 4K, so I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. So yeah, so I watched Star Trek in that. So there you go. No, not a shitty movie, 6. The scary movies, though. It's actually not that shitty of a movie. It's pretty good. It's just the third act goes off the rails a little bit, and the first part you got a little bit of an ask, but it's all right. It's a decent film. For considering what we get compared to nowadays, it's actually pretty good. And then we had another super chat here from Peter Smikleski. Did we get this one? Isn't Homelander the bad Superman? If we didn't, yeah, I mean, that goes back to the point earlier where we were saying it's kind of a bit of an overused trope at this point. But Superman's the original, and if you're going to do it, they should have done it right with Batman v Superman to begin with, I think is kind of what we were saying. I don't know if anybody agrees or disagrees with that on the panel, but
No, I agree completely. But yeah, what can you do when the people behind the scenes don't know what the hell they're doing and they don't understand Superman well enough to exactly? Well, just moving on. Like it's you can't really change that.
And on that note, Eric K sent in $1.99 to correct us. Brightburn is actually the name of the movie. Yeah, a few other.
Bright. I knew there had to be more than Burn.
Yeah.
Brightburn, yeah, of course. That movie was honestly chilling, and it looked like it was setting up a cinematic universe. I haven't seen any more sequels.
I heard some talk about a sequel, but
yeah. Anyway, that movie was like possibly chilling. I mean, that's humanity doomed right there.
Then Dash D said Black Adam's kind of the bad Superman in the tube too. Yeah, kind of, but I think they're going to make him more of an anti-hero. You watch.
Oh yeah, with The Rock, obviously.
Exactly. Alpha Dean Lewis then sent in $5. Thank you. Says I am not an Enterprise fan, but I'd watch that over any of Discovery's or any of that Discovery trash. Oh hell yeah!
If anything, because I remember that when Enterprise came out, it had a lot of haters. A lot of people,
including me.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. A lot of people were extremely unhappy with it, and I can understand that. But compared to what came later, oh my God, I think we all long back to everyone should long back to the days of Enterprise. And if you dismissed it then, give it a rewatch now. I think you may be surprised at how good it actually was for the time, because Enterprise was a very uneven series. It was a series of high highs and low lows, but the highs were really good and right up there with the best of Trek. Just too bad those episodes were so few and far between. But yeah, they were there. There are some.
Yeah, and I think we're caught up on the super chats then, if I'm not mistaken.
I think we are too.
Good job, Tom. Good job.
I kept us on. Well, Mike, you actually helped me keep me on task more than anything today. Yeah. You were a savior. The Wrenches did a great job in the chat. We didn't talk about Matrix yet. I don't know if we want to talk about that at all.
And I saw in the comments that you didn't talk about Dune either.
Yeah. Well, with Chris, it's just you got to let him go. You got to let him just talk, because it's kind of like Robert. You never know what he's going to say, and if you interrupt him too much, you might miss something good. So yeah. Anyhow, moving on with Dune. So yeah, what's the situation with Dune, Andre?
Nothing much. We're just waiting for the movie to be released. I will be seeing it in exactly 1 week.
No, really?
Yeah, really.
Oh, I can't wait for that. I'm so looking.
Got my tickets for IMAX and everything. Of course, it's like fake Max because we don't have any real IMAX screen in Norway, but we do have like ones as close as it's going to get, and that's where I'll be seeing Dune in a week.
Douglas Nelson said something else in that he wants to share. Let me see what this is here.
Yeah, okay.
See what he says.
Looking forward to that.
I have it here too, if not, but all right, there you go. Ah, nice.
The good old days.
Classic Trek art.
I've never appreciated classic Trek. Like, to be clear, like it's a next generation era that's kind of like dead to me. And I was always a Trekker more than I was a Trekkie. Like I didn't even discover I didn't even see the original series until it was out on DVD. Because that was never on in Norway.
Wow. I grew up, I mean, James T. Kirk was like my dad. I watched him twice a day in KTVU in the Bay Area. That show showed twice a day, Monday through Friday, back in the day.
Yeah. I'm gonna go watch some whales.
I wanted him to be I grew up with a single mom. I wanted to be like him. I wanted to be him. I used to, when I was a little kid, I fantasized, I just tell myself this dream that was my dad, my sci-fi dad.
As far as role models go, not a bad one.
No, not really.
Yeah.
No, I just want to go watch the one with whales.
That was I became aware of the original series by way of the movies, because that was my first exposure to Star Trek. Actually, was that The movies aired on Swedish TV. So I had like no frame of reference or anything like that. But like this was the early 90s. And then suddenly out of the blue, I think it was every Friday, they started showing the original Star Trek movies, one every Friday. And I missed the original one. I think I started watching from Search of Spock. So I caught most of that, and I was like able to like figure out most of the story from there. And then like the second week that I was watching was then of course the one with the whales, the fourth one. And that was my favorite movie at that time. I freaking loved it. And that kind of like led to me to becoming a Star Trek fan. And then a few years after that is when the Next Generation was released. And we did get that. Like, of course, by that time, it was like already canceled in the US by the time we got it in Norway. But then that's when I started watching that. And then later on, I rented Generations. And I was like, okay, so that's how they're both Star Trek with such different universe and different people. They're two different time zones. That's when I figured that out. And then the original series, I was aware of the existence of it, but I didn't actually see it until I think it was like the very early 2000s. Then again, Swedish TV, they had like this special where they showed like the 10 best episodes or something in the middle of the night. So I was sure to record that, and I saw like the first few episodes there. I know that The City on the Edge of Forever was one of them. Don't quite recall the others. But I didn't see the whole thing until 2005 when it was out on DVD. That was the first time I saw the original Star Trek. Of course, that's
from William Shatner on
few...
Instagram. Andre, from William Shatner on Instagram right here.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Nice.
Well, at least he's celebrating.
Very nice. He's celebrating more than anyone at CBS ever did.
Yeah. Yeah, me too, Andre. Like, I mean, I've told this story before, so I'll keep it quick. But like, yeah, I got introduced. I mean, I was aware of the show. You know, I knew, like, because like growing up in America, it was like Spock and Kirk and Bones were just kind of like Santa Claus. You know what I mean? They're just, everybody knew who they were. Like, they were just there. They were part of the vernacular. But I was just like, okay, whatever. Star Trek is Star Trek, until I saw Star Trek 4. And I'm like, whoa, this is a funny movie. It entertained me. And for years, I would just watch Star Trek 4 without even really getting into the other films. It wasn't until I was probably, you know, I don't know, probably about the time that between where like Next Generation came out, because I would catch it in a few episodes here and there. It wasn't until I was a little older that I started watching it more regular. But then, yeah, I went back and watched all the classic films, and then the Next Gen movies came out, and I caught all those in the theaters. I think Nemesis was the only one I didn't see in the theater, to be honest with you. I think it's still the only newer movie that I had not seen. I'm trying to remember if I did or not. I don't think I did.
Ironically, Nemesis is the only new movie that I actually did see in theaters up until the Abrams movies. Because here's like the thing, the Star Trek movies, because it wasn't like a big thing in Norway, it was me and a few others. They were never in cinemas here. They were all straight to VHS. Every of the Star Trek movies, even when I was aware of them, they were all sent straight to VHS. The one exception to that was Nemesis. By that time, Star Trek had gotten such a following in Norway that when that came, they set up a total of 3 public screenings of it. That was the first time I got to see Star Trek in theaters. That was pretty amazing. Too bad the movie wasn't.
Yeah, but otherwise, yeah, I saw all the stupid JJ Trek films in theaters too. But yeah, no, I hope.
We got another super chat from Dash Dees, I think.
We
did.
did.
We get that one?
Okay, yes. Oh, we didn't get it, but we did get another super chat. Says Dash Dees, wow, Mike, that's cool. Get the urge to do it with Green Chick too. I would not put it past Mike.
Although I am allergic to avocado, true story. I am actually allergic to avocado. I will make an exception for a smoking hot Orion girl.
Why do I see you calling her your little avocado?
Well,
Mike,
hey,
you're
baby.
gonna.
Hey, avocado base, sweetie. Hey, baby. Hello.
Now you know that Bambino's going to come over thinking you're going to let him out.
Yeah, Mike, you're gonna have to see the Orion episodes in the Next Generation. Sorry, in Enterprise. I thought those were pretty sweet.
I don't even remember those in Enterprise.
Yeah, no, in season 4, there's Orion episodes.
This is what I don't get about this whole nerds are nothing but Rosses. We went past that shit years ago. We've all admitted that we'd fuck a green chick. Captain Kirk was a pimp.
Yeah, and with that, I don't think we have too much new to say about Dune right now. That was like in case Chris Gore had something to say.
Yeah, but you still.
But I'm just waiting for that. The other thing was the Matrix. Anyone excited for the Matrix trailer drop?
The Matrix part, I was going to say you still haven't watched any of the Dune behind the scenes stuff, any of the new trailers. And I just wondered if you wanted to tell everybody why, because I get people asking Dune stuff about you all the time, and you've been avoiding it.
Yeah, because I'm seeing the movie next week, and I want to save as much as possible there. Because so I've seen like all the trailers, but then at some point I decided, you know what, I don't want to see anymore. I now want to go and enjoy the theatrical experience. I've already read the script. I know the script is fantastic. I said more than a year ago that the marketing is woke, and that is something that's done deliberately to distract from the more problematic elements of the movie, trying to win over the extremists and the Twitterati. We've seen that play out exactly as they feared now when the reviews have dropped and everything. So I'm just waiting to see the movie itself, and I'll give all my thoughts on it in a week.
Yeah, and I also brought up your editorial you'll have coming out here pretty soon about it.
Yeah, pretty soon, like in the next day or two.
So so look forward to that, kids. So yeah, I hope this makes you feel good though, Andre. Last night on Mead, I showed the boys the behind the scenes stuff, and even Jesse's like, "Hey, I'll check it out."
Yeah, cool.
He's a hard cookie to crack when it comes to some of that stuff sometimes.
Cool.
So yeah, everybody was a little bit more on board after showing him that featurette. So. And he said the same exact stuff I did. The Baron Harkonnen stuff was the best. Like
I look forward to seeing the featurette after I see the movie.
I know. He's just those few lines are just great in it, though. Yeah, Dune hype. I think it's going to be good.
But I will say this, though. One of the reasons that I was so excited about the movie early on was the casting of Stellan Skarsgård as the Baron Harkonnen. Like, of all the people cast, he was the one I was the most excited about because he's such an important role. Who are they going to cast as the Baron? Now, I would never in a million years have thought of Stellan Skarsgård for that role. But now but the moment that idea was like planted, I was like, holy shit, that's the best idea ever.
Yeah. So yeah, I can't wait to hear what you think about that. And that's going to be ramping up here in the next few weeks. So Dune time. But yeah, you brought up the Matrix, and we've got an image from the new Matrix film.
Yeah, we did
right here.
Yeah, let's have a look at that.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. Whoa, like
actually, that looks more like something. Yeah, that looks actually a lot more like something out of the Matrix than the actual thing we got. Which was like, I saw this, and what was the first thing I did? I tweeted out, "Oh, so John Wick is in the Matrix." Because I asked you, Andre, I said, "Look at this picture. Would you think this is from John Wick or the Matrix?"
To me, that's a still from John Wick, which makes me thinking, okay, so basically, what must have happened is that the bad guys recaptured Neo. They put him into one of those pods, and the dream he's living right now is John Wick. So it's all part of the Matrix. That would be like a cool franchise crossover, but no, they're obviously different studios. But still, I think it's a little bit like lazy. Like, yeah, Mr. Reeves, we know that you are John Wick now. You used to be Neo, and now you are John Wick. Still, reprising Neo doesn't mean that you should blend John Wick into that. Like, there's no real No reason for that.
So
Maybe they ran out of money on the budget and they couldn't afford a haircut.
Maybe. I don't know. Well, they probably have to shave his head for the other parts too, though, right? When he's outside the Matrix.
I don't know what they're going to do. Like, who knows? I honestly, I don't care. I haven't been interested in the Matrix since 2003. That's when I saw the second movie.
Oh,
nice highway
Andre.
cheese, but beyond that, then I stopped caring at that point.
I think that the way that he shot these movies, he went from Bill and Ted straight into this, and then into Matrix or into John Wick 4. So there's no real reason for him to keep the John Wick look. He was coming off of Bill and Ted, so he could have kept no beard, which is what Neo had, or even just done like a goatee or something to where it's a little different look. You know what I mean? To where it's not the same. Because this is his John Wick look right here with the chops and the beard.
Maybe, just maybe, Keanu Reeves can only do like one character at the time. And now when he's in John, like he's always been accused of being
how many different versions of Ted did he play in Bill and Ted 3? Come on. I don't know.
I like Infuriator's coming in the chat. He says, "Wake the F up, Neo. We have a puppy killer to burn."
I mean, I know that a lot of people were like, whatever, lukewarm to Bill and Ted 3, and we liked it for the most part. But I will say this about Keanu. That's some of his best acting in years. Because he actually had to act in that movie. He wasn't just doing action scenes. And he played himself in 3 or 4 different ways. I was kind of impressed. I don't even think I brought that up at the time. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
And we have Jeff C coming in with a $5 super chat.
yeah, we did. He said, "Did Mr. Gore have Kevin Smith's contact info? Thought you were going to contact Mr. Smith about Motu." Well,
Mr. Smith is busy filming right now, isn't
he did give us an email address, but he said he's not sure how current it is. And with the way world is, it's hard to say how many times Kevin has changed it since then. But if not, like Andre just said, we're kind of just waiting till after he's done with Clerks 3. Then maybe we'll reach out to him. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah,
but in the middle of filming is not the best of time. Like we're smart enough to realize that.
Yeah. So
and Mike Tomlin asked if we read their super chat, but I thought we did do that.
I think we did. Pretty sure we did.
I'm like 99.999 because I've been tracking these all day.
Yeah.
No, which one was that? Let's
we're at for $9.99.
Back up there, right?
Yeah. Let me just see here.
Because I remember the name. Mike Tomlin, right? You said?
Yep, $9.99. $10 super chat. You want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead if you got it.
Yeah,
Mike Tomlin. Okay, for $9.99. I think you guys are overcritical. It's a movie, Yeah, we got that one. We read that one a long time ago. Yeah.
In fact, we brought it up a few times. Mike. Yeah. So yeah, it was a really good.
Well, she just or Mike. Mike asked. Mike asked in the. Sorry about that, Mike. Mike asked.
Well, the picture is a she, so we're gonna. I guess you're right. So yeah, the hottest coach in the NFL. There you go. Yes, we did, and actually, it was a very poignant question when he brought it up. So you might want to back it up a little bit, if not, if you missed it. But yeah, we brought it up a couple times afterwards too. So that's when I brought up Dead and Buried here a little bit ago.
Andre, are you going to be able to, when you say a week from today, does that mean like next Wednesday when you show up, you would have already seen it, or are you going to see it after the show?
Probably I will already have seen it next Wednesday.
That's exciting.
Yeah. I think I don't recall the exact show time right now, but I think probably by this time next Wednesday, I will have seen it past tense.
He'll probably have us waiting in suspense, and it'll be the second time he's ever late.
Yeah. Well, actually, if you recall, I wasn't late last Wednesday when I saw Shang-Chi. I did join from and I made it. I was going to.
Yeah, you were trying. I know.
But I made it right just in time.
No, I meant today. Like today is the first time you've ever been like super, super late. Like, but that was for good reasons.
As panicked as I was, Tom was like, "Oh, Andre's late." Yeah.
No, I was pretty panicked because I'm like, we got Chris Gore. Of all fucking days, Andre has to be late.
Well, don't worry, Tom. I came in and I got
acting up, and I'm like, "Are you fucking serious?"
Well, don't worry. You have your trusty, abled Mexican Iron Man who sleeps on your sofa to do what he can to help
No,
out.
I swear, I've got gremlins in my life that just are fucking with me no matter what I do. Andre would probably swear to this because if not, he probably thinks I'm making this shit up. But I send him as much proof as possible, usually, just to show him, like, no, I'm not making this shit up. It's like my life is like every day. It's like, what's gonna happen today? Like every day. I wake up. But yesterday, what happened is I got to take a blue or red pill. Did you take the blue or red pill, Andre?
What?
You didn't know about this?
No.
Oh my goodness gracious! That's how they advertise the teaser for the trailer. You go.
Oh, but I don't care. I just told you.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you go to thematrix.com and they had two different teaser trailers. Whether you pick the red pill or the blue pill, but what the neat thing is I did give them a little bit of praise. I said the least they're utilizing the viral internet marketing like they did with the first film, because when you click on the trailers, it actually tells you the exact time as you're watching it. Like it'll say the time is now 2:07 p.m. But is it or whatever? Like, and then it goes into the whole little thing, and it shows like just quick flashes of stuff. The trailer parts are boring, but I'm like, yeah, well, the actual selling of the film, they're kind of doing right, I guess. But you weren't even aware of this, but yeah, they have the website set up.
Yeah, well, I'll do check it out though. Guess what color I'm choosing? So yeah,
the blue pill.
You have guessed poorly. Okay.
Okay, the red pill. I don't care. I'm not really looking forward to the movie. I just praise the marketing aspect of it. Like I said last night, all this movie has to do is be better than the last two, and I don't think it's going to accomplish that. So,
well, we shall see. We shall see.
What about you?
And then, yeah, Mike.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Are you looking forward to the Matrix? I know you got to leave.
Oh yeah. I love the Matrix. I love, unbelievably, despite everybody else's feelings, I like A. Okay, the first one is A+. The second one to me is still a B, and the second one's still a tolerable C. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I still watch. I listen to the soundtrack when I do tax returns still to this day. I love the Animatrix. I back when I was DJ on the weekends, which I don't do this anymore, but back in the day, I used to do remixes of the soundtracks and the score, and yeah.
Yeah, and Tom, Pete Smigelski says that we missed one of the super chats on Mead last night. Can you see if you can find that?
We did get one in right at the last minute. If that's the one, I don't know if it was from you though. That was why I'm curious, because if we got one from you, I'm gonna have to go back.
No, Mead, not like the morning show last time, but
no, I know,
yeah,
he is right, because we got one right after we finished, but it wasn't from him. Is what I'm saying.
Well, then you check that you missed one during the show.
No, it was. We talking about while we were signing off. So one came in on the screen.
Sent us a $5 super chat that said "koala" last night. But I'll go back in my studio and make sure I didn't miss one from.
Yeah. Like you go and check the studio that you didn't miss one from. Yeah.
We'll double check for the Thursday show for sure for tomorrow night.
Well, I'll check right now. Peter Smigelski. Yeah, I'll check.
Yeah, Peter Smigelski. And then we're going to round out here in a moment because Mike has to leave, and I think we have covered pretty much what there is to cover. I did see there was a question though, and trying to find that. Trying to get back to that question. I saw that. Oh, there. Brian Barth. He wonders. Tom and Andre. I'm going to include Mike in that. Would have Will Smith or Leonardo DiCaprio been good as Neo in The Matrix?
Which
I do believe that they actually were looking for Will Smith for a point there.
Will Smith turned it down. Actually, it's a very funny story. He has it on his YouTube channel.
Was Leonardo DiCaprio approached?
He was also in the running, yes.
But, I think that they made the right choice.
I think they made the right choice too. I'm going to go with that. Will Smith would have been an interesting take. But I'm with Andre. I think Keanu.
I think he would have been a distracting take.
Yeah, I think
so too. I think he would have
distracting.
I think that if you had gone with Will Smith, it wouldn't have been The Matrix. It would have been another Will Smith vehicle, because that's like the huge risk with going with like a movie star or someone so recognizable, is that when you have those in those big roles, their persona overtakes the movie, And it isn't. It would no longer be the Matrix. It would have been a Will Smith vehicle. Same with Leonardo DiCaprio. But at the time, Keanu Reeves, he was like his career wasn't doing too hot right then. He hadn't really had like a huge hit since Speed. He was still like considered pretty wooden and stuff like that, kind of underrated. Certainly not an A-lister or a star. Like he was known, but he wasn't the star that he is now. And so people were instantly able to recognize him or accept him as Neo, and then the Matrix and the concept became massive, and he became a part of that concept. But it was never a Keanu Reeves vehicle, the
That's
way
a great
that arguably John Wick is today. So they had to go with someone like him, and that's why it worked so perfectly. And going with someone more famous for any role. I mean, when they were looking at Will Smith for Neo, they were also looking at Sean Connery for Morpheus.
Yep.
Which also, thank God, didn't happen. Because you imagine, do you think that The Matrix would have had the status today if it had been starring Will Smith and Sean Connery? I don't think so.
I think it would have done well enough at the box office, and we probably would have got better
for sure.
out of it. But no, I think you're 110% right. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that at that time, had you had gotten Will Smith or Leonardo DiCaprio, even somebody like Tom Cruise, that's the whole point. Is like I think they would have overshadowed
completely
the project.
Tom Cruise would have been a disaster in that.
And not only that, they would have inserted too much influence, especially Will Smith. Like, let's be real, it would have become a Will Smith movie
exactly
at that point.
That's
so
what I mean.
it would have probably been a lot like Hancock, I bet.
Yeah,
a lot more like Hancock instead, I bet, because he would have probably injected more humor, and he has his own writers. Like, and that's nothing new. All these guys do. Tom Cruise does, speaking of, and stuff like that, where they come in and they just. And Script Doctors talked about this, I think, a couple times too, where they just kind of insert like certain things and say, "Oh, he won't say this, or he will say this, and or he'll say it like this, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is another one too. I know who does that too, but that's just because he just can't. He won't say certain things because he's like,
the star example there is actually like, and Mike, I know we'll be off here any moment. I just have to like say this, like. In the 80s and 90s, most of the movies with either Schwarzenegger or Stallone, at some point they were both in the running. And for instance, with Judge Dredd, the 1995 movie, this was one of those where they had basically the same story, but they had two scripts of that same story. One was tailored for Stallone, the other was tailored for Schwarzenegger. Because the two would play such different iterations, they would have come with their own writer and stuff. But at that same time, the producers knew this we can sell to Schwarzenegger, this we can sell to Stallone, and ultimately Stallone got it. So we got like the slightly more victimized Judge Dredd, because that's the Stallone trope of the beaten down victim of the system.
Well, and speaking of that competition, I mean, you also have that. And I think Stallone's talked a little bit about this, and I'm pretty sure Schwarzenegger brought it up in his book too, where, there was that friendly competition, but at the same time, it's like, so-and-so killed so many guys in his last movie, and he said this, and that. Well, I got to kill X amount more, plus say this, and that much more. That's funny. Like, they would actually like worry about that kind of shit. Like, that's not even like a joke. Like,
and they also have bigger and bigger guns. Like which
exactly,
like at some point he used like guns that were like submachine guns meant for helicopters, and he would like just hold them in his hand just so
have to just keep upping each other. Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, with that naked fame, since the Matrix regurgitation. But I hope the movie's going to be good. I hope that the fans like Mike are going to love it. I really hope so.
In this world, of all the titles, like, this is what I don't get. Resurrection is the dumbest fucking title ever, if that's what they go with, because that's what it sounds like they're going with. Why didn't they call it The Matrix Rebooted? Come the fuck, like, that is like a no-brainer.
Well, I agree with that, but yeah. But Mike, you probably have to be leaving here any moment.
Has done a killer fucking job today, so I just want to say this. Mike never gets enough thanks, not just from us, but from the community in general, because there's one other that I'm going to bring up, that Peter Smigalski super chat with Andre here before we end. But no, Mike, you never get enough praise for all the shit you do, not just for us, but for every channel. You do so much work. Today you've helped me out so much. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to do it today. And
and I also want to say thank you, because it was only like the last moment that I learned that, oh shit, I'm going to be like an hour and a half, 2 hours late today. And like the first one that I reached out to was like Mike, and of course you answered, and thank you, my friend, for always being there, being so helpful, doing so much behind the scenes, and on mic and everything. So yes, hail Mexican Iron Man.
Oh, thanks, guys. Thanks everybody in the chat stream. You all being really nice and sweet. Thank you, appreciate it. And guys, Tom, Andre, I love you guys to pieces. I'm honored to be part of the team. Was blessed and honored when you guys asked me to, after being a fan for more than a couple of years, and it's a labor of love, that's for sure. And I it's funny because I had a feeling this morning. I said, I wonder if they're going to need me today. So I got up early, 6:30, and got some work done, and I was able to do it today.
Well, that was meant to be. And again, as a token of appreciation, that's why some time ago, of course, we had this Mexican Iron Man badge made. So
I love my emoji. I love my Mexican Iron Man.
We need to. Your Mexican Iron Man senses must have been tingling that you knew I needed you. So
I did. They did, literally. They did, and it wasn't just because you nudged me on the couch and told me to wake the hell up. Hey, get over here! Get over here! Get on the dashboard, buddy.
To be fair, the couch is now the floor. Well, it's a bunch of blankets I put on the floor and said it was the couch. Because the new couch won't be here till Friday, probably.
And I just love everybody in the chat stream. I made so many good friends. There's so many people. I mean, the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesday, Thursday. I mean, all these chat streamers are great, but I have a lot of really close friends here on the stream, and I try to talk to everybody who talks to me, just to keep things going and stuff. And this is a great show. I love Chris Gore. He's amazing. Love him. Thanks, Sander.
Yeah, Chris Gore is amazing. I don't think he's still listening, but if he is, we love you, brother, and we hope to have you back real soon. And I'll bug you later. I'll remember to just try and text you though, because it's so much easier for you. And with that, thank you again, Mexican Iron Man, for being here. But Peter Smigalski, I'm probably butchering your name again. You sent me in a super chat last night that I think Andre can address really well. So we're going to get to that real quick before we leave. But thank you, Mexican Iron Man, for being here. And you have a fun rest of your day. And I'm sure I'll talk to you either later or tomorrow.
Thanks, cool.
All right, take care, brother. And also, yes, thanks to all the wrenches for all they do. Six and Mr. Tickle Trunk. And we had Lindsay in here, and Mags was in here earlier, and I think she's still lurking. I didn't see some of our other regular wrenches here today, but I know people have lives, and as we don't expect anybody to show up to wrench, but when they do, we appreciate it. And like Mr. Tickle Trunk says, hit that like button, show the wrenches some love, not just us, by doing so, because they do send you guys all the links and all that stuff, and they help us out here so much. And I just want to say thank you for that. But with that, Peter had this said this yesterday. We were talking about Dune. He said, see the television/director's cut of Dune. It is better. And yeah, Andre, actually, you have another version of Dune you'd like to recommend.
Yeah, but on that note, this is true of the TV. To go on to that point first, with the TV version from the year 2000, yeah, there are two versions of it. It's the edited for TV version, and then it's the extended director's cut version.
I think he's talking about the Lynch one, but yeah.
Yeah, I know, but didn't he say the TV version in there?
If that's the case, then I'm wrong, and that's what he meant, and you're right too. Then either way,
well, read the super chat again.
Let's see here. It was I just had it up and then I lost it here. Let's see here, because I went to that Casperius one, so I went and lost it.
I think he was talking about the 2000s TV
You might
series.
be right. Here it is. You guys should check out the director's cut of the TV version.
Yes. Oh,
that's what he meant.
Director's cut of that has to be the series, because because director's cut of the TV version, that's 2000 series made for Sci-Fi, and the director's cut of that is really the only version that you should watch. The beauty is, I don't think that you can get the shortened down, edited for TV version anymore. I don't know why you would ever want
I don't
to
think
see
they
that
did.
one. The story. It was released on DVD back in the day.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
you had DVDs of both the edited version and the extended
I
director's
thought the
cut version.
VHS version was the TV version, but I thought the DVD one when they released that was the director's cut. But
No, both. So back in the DVD days, certainly if you were importing from the US, then you had to be really, really careful to make sure that you got the extended version, the one with like more story, nudity, and all that good stuff. In Europe, we only got the extended version, so it was like no issue there. But yeah, that one is it's kind of like a film stage play these days, but story-wise, it's good. In terms of production value, though, it's a David Lynch version all the way, and there are more versions of it, and the one that I recommend there is the extended. What was it called again? It's by Spice Diver.
Oh gosh, you always tell me. I can always forget the name.
Yeah, I know. It's by Spice Diver, and it's it's the extended version recut, or just got like a brain fart.
It's the Redux version or something like that.
It's like something Redux.
But sadly, it's only available in standard def. But he actually redid finished off all the special effects with the eyes and all that kind of stuff that aren't done in the TV version.
Yeah,
but it takes all the best stuff of that, mixes it, and it also has the stuff that's cut from the TV version, because that's the only thing that sucks about the TV Alan Smithy version is it cuts out some of the more violent scenes.
Spice Diver cut. That's
Spice
what
Diver
it was
cut.
called.
Thank
Spice
you,
Diver. Yeah, no, Spice Diver is the one who made it. That's not the name of it. I think it was like the extended version Redux, or it's alternate. It's the alternate edition Redux. So Dune, the alternate edition Redux by Spice Diver.
Jeffrey
It is, there we have it, and it's available on YouTube. And that is the definitive version of that movie. You do not have to see any other version. Like, for instance, the 4K version. Yeah, sure, see the 4K for the individual scenes. But for the story, for the definitive version of David Lynch's Dune, you want the Spice Diver alternate cut Redux. That's the one you want. And for the 2000s TV version, you want the extended director's cut. But I think that's probably the only one you're going to find these days. And to address the ones in the chat who were wondering, yes, that's the one that has the nudity.
All right. So there you go, kids. And with that, I don't think we had any other super chats coming in the meantime. Pretty sure. So I'm going to remind everybody that we have Midnight's Edge Espanol tomorrow morning. We have Midnight's Edge After Dark tomorrow night, right? Yeah. And so other than that, just keep an eye out for more videos. Head on over to Fully Articulated right now over on Rob's channel. So I'll throw the link in the chat. Tell him Midnight's Edge sent you. Do a Midnight's Edge raid over there and show Robert some love. I think Az is on with him, of course. They usually are together on that. I'll probably hop over there and say hi quick too. Other than that, thank you so much, everybody, for the super chats, for the likes, for the support, for watching. As always, we appreciate you. And I want to thank Chris Gore again for being here. As always, it's always a pleasure and an honor, as I say it. And I don't mean that just blowing smoke. He is a true legend among us. So I'm always happy to get to talk to him. So, Andre, anything else you want to bring up before we go?
No, I just want to say thank you to everyone that's here. So check out Midnight's Edge Espanol. Check out Midnight's Edge After Dark. And on Friday, we'll be back with Kamran Basha. So look forward to that.
So see you then. And yes, do make sure you subscribe to Chris's channel as well. And with that, yes, Lindsay, it is time for some koalas in the rain. I just got to find the button.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koala, koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given.